Welcome everybody to the January 13th, 2026 council meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. Good morning. Council is conducting this meeting in person and via conference call in accordance with Municipal Government Act Section 199. Council chambers is open for public attendance in person. However, councilors and members of the public may still join meetings remotely using our current teleconference process. If the meeting is recessed, callers will be put on hold until the meeting reconvenes, with the exception that numerous callers will be asked to call back in. This helps with our call quality. Please note this meeting is being recorded and may be uploaded to our website or social media. To eliminate background noise, please mute your phone during this meeting. We also ask all attendees mute their devices to reduce disruptions during the meeting. Everyone has a right to be present at council meetings and council committee meetings. Any attendings that are considered disruptive to this progression of this meeting will be removed as per discretion of the chair as per Municipal Government Act Section 198. I thank you for the cooperation and understanding. We do have some councillors participating remotely. However, we are using eScribe, so the voting will be recorded as normal. If anybody remotely has trouble getting my attention to speak, please either send a text to staff or something, or someone, or anybody here, so I can try to recognize it. It's kind of difficult sometimes. So you have an agenda before us. Is there any additions or deletions or changes?
Through the chair to council, we have one agenda item to add. It's attendance at the Emerging Trends in Municipal Law session with Brownlee. And then to add it as new business 9.1. And then we also have a request to move one of the in-camera sessions, the Township Road 240, to an appointment time at 10:30, so that we could have another party join us in that meeting.
Okay, so for council, we're adding 9.1 agenda item and closed section 10 at 10:30 a.m.
That's correct, 10:30.
Anything else? You should have eScribe. Yeah, mine's open. After the Christmas break, we're all a little rusty on all the tech here. We're getting it all up and running.
Hello, Scott?
Yes.
Yeah, I tried phoning in. I can't get through on the new number. Somebody's lost on the other end. I just thought staff should know. But I'm
Okay.
able to listen on eScribe.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay, so you're on eScribe and you're able to
No.
hear?
No, I'm on Teams right now listening. I've got my eScribe up. I think it'll work. We'll see. Find out shortly, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. If you have any troubles, just let us know. We're just making sure everybody's logged on to eScribe here before we get a motion on the floor to accept. Technology is wonderful when it all works. It's all signed in? Okay. Looks like we have an e-scribe up for everybody, so I'm looking for a notice to, motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Thank you. Motion on the floor from Councillor Clayton. Any discussion? If not, I'll call the question. Yours doesn't come up? Mine came up. Did you hit the vote in progress? Okay, it came up there, but not here. I see it up there, but I don't see it down here. So that's carried, I think. Yeah. Usually it comes up on the screen up in front of me so I can see it better.
Yeah, mine came up.
Yeah, yours came up? Yeah. Okay. That's carried. Okay, any notices of motion from any councilors? Not seeing any? And we have no bylaw readings, public hearings, no presentations. Consent agenda, 5.1, or 5. Is there any items in here that anybody wants to talk about? Go ahead.
I would like to
Oh, make sure it's green. There you go.
I would like to remove 5.7 for further discussion later under my report.
Okay. Or we could do a business arising from consent agenda too. We could pull it and discuss it right after.
That would be fine. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Anything else? Go ahead.
I'd also like to remove the police funding model changes.
Okay, 5.6.
Yep.
Anyone else? Anyone online have anything? Okay, we'll need a motion.
Just question,
Yes. Go ahead, Counselor.
this consent agenda is just fives,
Yes.
or is it sevens too?
Just fives. There's a discussion in the package, I believe, to look at how the consent agenda moves forward from this point. But as of right now, our policy is the way it is.
I'm checking for right now, so it's 5.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So I will move to remove consent agenda 5.6 and 5.7 and add under agenda item 6.1
Okay.
and 6.2. Thank you.
6.1 and 6.2. That's correct. Motion on the floor. Any discussion on that motion? I will call the question. And that's carried. We'll need a motion for the remaining of the information to accept as information.
I'll move approval of the January 13, 2026 consent agenda as presented, including 5.1 through 5.5.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? I will call the question. And that's carried. We'll move on to 6.1, and I'll just follow the consent agenda, so that would be item number 5.6, police funding model changes. Councillor Laprise?
So I just wanted to take this out so that we can have a little discussion, and there was a request in that information. So first of all, I did think it was good to let ratepayers know that policing costs will be increasing, and that affects tax rates. It seems in the information provided that policing costs were meant to be paid for 30% by municipalities. I do like that the increase to municipalities will be phased in. And I like that the formula will be adjusted so that it's not just equalized assessment, but also includes population and weighted occurrences to better reflect the cost to provide the services. I also like the commitment to better reporting of amounts collected, how the funds were allocated, and how it supports frontline policing. The one concern I have, I guess, is that I hope that they will consider the fact that we are also providing our own funding to the Strathmore Police through our watch clerk. So we are already paying like an additional fee for our policing services, and I don't know if they will be considering that when they're looking at the new funding formula. So I think that's something that we should keep our eye on and maybe point out to them that that's occurring in our municipality. There was a request in the documentation to request the estimated updated policing costs from the province as an estimate, just so that we are kind of aware of what it might cost us. So I don't know if you want a motion to request that from them.
So through the REEV, administration has already made the request to
Beautiful.
the police funding body, just to have some follow-up details around that.
Perfect.
So we can better account for it in our final budget.
Beautiful, thank you very much. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Anyone else want any input on that?
I
From
got
us-
something to say.
Go ahead, Councillor Kester.
Yeah, I appreciate we have the RCMP, but just so everyone understands, we never used to pay anything for the RCMP. The province paid for it. And then the province, money saving or whatever spurred them on, decided that municipalities of our nature have to pay, sounds like 40%. I don't believe we got any increase in funding from anywhere. So I just wanted the ratepayers to know. It's just, I would say it's downloading, but what do I know?
Thank you, Councillor Kester. Myself.
I'd like to add, hello?
Go ahead, Councillor Bigger.
I'd like to add to Councillor Laprise's statements is that we had actually brought the watch clerk forward at a meeting at RMA, and I would actually suggest that we do that again now that we've got a little bit more guidelines on the policing, and find out if that watch clerk could actually be added into our, and just keep asking year after year to make sure that it's accountable in our funding model.
All good information.
So I don't know if you need a motion for it to be asked that it get sent to RMA, or just watch to see if when RMA comes up that we actually put in the request.
If we were to send a letter from our municipality, we have to have a motion. If we were going to direct us to do something through our RMA, we could do it that way as well.
I noticed that RMA requests for meetings are later on in the agenda. Perhaps we could talk about it then.
Sure.
We could do it as a meeting, or we could send a letter too. I think it would be better to have a letter with that particular issue. I was at Central RMA on Friday at Three Hills with all the mayors and reeves of the area. And this was a topic brought forward. And as Councillor Kester said, many of them feel that it is downloading. It started out as a very small percentage, and now it's growing quite fast, rapidly. And it's a direct link to the taxpayer. We have no way to, we can't even really identify it in the tax bill separately. It's just a direct cost too. So I have grave concerns about it. And yes, we've as well had the Watch Clerk program for a number of years, and we've had Strathmore Division in here several times saying how successful it is, but yet there's no recognition for the funds that we've put forward. And I believe we signed a 3-year contract with that now. So we've committed for 3 years, and there's no recognition of something that's actually improving the service in the area, proven by the boots on the ground, so to speak. So I think a letter directly to the Honorable Mike Ellis and his office would be appropriate, and then follow up with RMA as well.
Do you want a motion?
Okay, I'll make that motion. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. A motion to send a letter to Honorable Mike Ellis and Public Safety and Emergency Services, and we'll get a draft form, and maybe we can look at it at lunchtime and see, or maybe not that early, by the end of the day, or something. We can send it around with an email and we can all approve it.
Through the Reeve to council, yes. By the end of the day, we could do something and circulate it via email for approval, for a draft letter to the minister for council's approval.
Go ahead, Mr. Hebbs.
I would, I'm not hung up on it. I'd prefer the letter be accurate and, rather than rush it and try to,
Through the Reeve to council, we could also bring it back to the February meeting, the very first meeting. That way council has time to read it and make any changes or any additions to it beyond adding comments about the watch clerk.
Okay, council, what would council like to see? Come back to the next meeting? Donna? Sorry?
Sure,
Councilor
next
Bader?
meeting's fine.
Okay,
Next meeting's fine.
okay. So motion on the floor to draft a letter to Honorable Mike Ellis, Minister of Public Health, Minister of Safety and Emergency Services in regards to police funding model and recognizing the contribution of watch clerk. Does that sound fair?
Sounds good.
Okay. We'll wait till it gets typed up here. Did it come up? No. So the motion is that council direct administration to draft a letter to the Honorable Mike Ellis, Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Service in regards to police funding model and watch clerk. Anything further? Motion's on the floor. I'll call the question. And that is carried. We'll move on to agenda item 6.2, which is 5.7, Marigold Library correspondence. Councillor Clayton.
I think everybody got the letter request in their package, but what's happening on the postal codes in Canada is they're raising the price for sending library material around through the mail to a point where it's not sustainable by the local libraries because they don't have any increase in funds. So you've seen the letter. I would like to, under the Wheatland County, send a letter accordingly to the government expressing our concerns that this is happening and it's going to affect our library Marigold system in the overall area.
Okay, thank you. Council, it's on page 25 and 26 in the agenda.
Through the Reeve to council, we have a motion that we can put up for Councillor Clayton to look at.
Okay, perfect. So it'll become front there. So it says the motion that council authorize Reeve to sign a letter to the municipal government, Minister of Government Transformation, Public Works and Procurement requesting a withdrawal from the proposed amendments to the Canada Post Corporation Act in Bill C-15.
I'd like to make that motion.
Motion's on the floor. Councillor Laprise.
Yeah, I definitely support the motion. I believe that Canada Post is doing all it can to try to modernize and become a service that is, they do have its issues, but I do see that it should be used to protect people's fundamental right to equal access to services, whether you live in urban or rural setting. And so I think it's very important for our municipality to continue the services that Marigold's providing. So I definitely support the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? I will call the question. And that's carried.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to councillor reports and related business. 7.1, I'm just going to go through the normal agenda this time, the way it's written. So my report is on page 28 of the council package. Very briefly, I've had some, since being Reeve, I've had some interesting sits downs with Invest Alberta, things like that. CPKC holiday training Galician. Very cold night, brought greetings from council. Very straightforward. If there's any questions, I will gladly take them. If not, I'll put my report as information. Go ahead.
Just a question about your REMP meeting. I know there was some talk about whether or not REMP was going to continue or we were going to go with mutual aid agreements. Has that been discussed yet, or is it still to be discussed, or what's the status of that? Do you know?
So at the last meeting we held in Strathmore, REMP is still continuing forward. I believe it's going to rejig. Chestermere sounds like, Town of Chestermere sounds like they will be removing themselves from the area. But there's still a need in the area for the villages and the county to have this, they want the support of it. How it rolls out as of yet, it will definitely be pulled back from the bigger plan that it was and more realistic. And there is support from Alberta. Does that, what was the term of the Alberta government liaison that's there? I can't remember what it was. The representative from the Alberta government that comes and sits in those meetings. Disaster, I'm just going to say disaster.
Yes, Southern Alberta.
Yeah, they are supportive, and they provide some supporting funding as well for scenarios and training for, like, our council training programs as well. They're definitely, there's some benefit to be part of that. It sounds like from the room, the villages were there, everybody was in support of it, just more keep it focused on what, it kind of grew out of proportion, to be honest, so definitely pulling it back, so I put a motion out to accept my report as information. Any further questions, discussion? I will call the question. And that's carried. We'll move on to 7.2, Deputy Reeves' report.
Thank you. My report is on page 41. Not too much to really say. The ASB Summer Tour is progressing very well. We have an amazing administrative team that are right on top of all of it, so doing amazing work there. kudos to them. And I had a conversation with a counselor December 4th in Gleason, and it was very worthwhile. There weren't a lot of people there. There was probably 10, but it was really a great opportunity to have good conversation one-on-one with local residents. And yeah, I recommend it. It was a great use of time, actually. That's all I really point out. The rest is there. I'll move my report as information unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the Deputy Reeve about the report? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. And that's carried. We'll move on to item 7.3, Division 2 Council Report.
Hello. So this is the first time we've been in council chamber since the December 17th storm. So I kind of informally on social media sent out a little thank you, but I think we should recognize, you know, our staff and the inside staff, you know, and the job they did helping some stranded travelers. I mean, everybody would do that, you know, but our staff stepped up. The other thing I think that's kind of neat is that even, you know, so you got the inside staff and they, you know, they prepared the boardroom with some coffee and stuff, but you would have had people out in the parking lot clearing snow with a skid steer. And I think our people out in the field, even though they weren't in the building helping, I think it's a bit of a team building. And, you know, I think it's a pretty nice thing. And our people should be proud of the fact that they're part of that team. And I'll bet you the outside people were in there kind of cheering us on. Like, I think that's a, you know, a noteworthy thing that we should. One more little thing, but before I get into my actual report, is that further to that of what our staff accomplished, remember that snowstorm would have piled up a bunch of drifts and stuff. So we would have had some grader and some snow removal people out there very soon. And I think that's important for us all to kind of remember, because those grader people and our outside staff, along with, you know, the coordination from the inside staff, that it keeps our county moving. It allows our farmers to haul grain and forage and cattle to markets and forage to the fields where the cattle are. I think that's noteworthy. I also think that those people out there doing the work on the roads, you know, in not necessarily ideal conditions the day after a blizzard, that they allowed our rural people of all, country, residential, the acreage people, everybody, to get to work, get to school, not feel isolated. Like, I think that's important. So pass on our thanks, please. So for my monthly report, December 2nd, normal council meeting. December 2nd, we had our WRP meet and greet in the evening here at, in our boardroom. I'd like to kind of commend our Reeve and our Deputy Reeve and our staff for being gracious hosts, because that meeting, I think, you know, it's fair to say the meeting got a little fractious, and it wasn't our people doing it, and maybe that's why you have those meetings, so that everybody can get some stuff off their chest. But yeah, I was there, and I think our Reeve and our Deputy Reeve and our staff conducted themselves graciously. It could have got off the rails. And, you know, I think we kind of tried to keep it in line, and thanks for that. December 8th, I went to the Strathmore Seed Cleaning Plant AGM. You know, another fine group of people doing real good yeoman work, really, in our community. December 9th was the MPC meeting. December 11th, I attended an ASB virtual meeting, you know, which has helped. December 16th was a normal council meeting, and you know, at that meeting, I mentioned that, you know, I had some concerns with with the transparency in some of our boards. Those have not been alleviated, but that's that. The December 21st CPKC holiday train, I thought our Reeves spoke well. The MPs were there. Yeah, it was a very well-attended community event given the weather. But yeah, it was a good thing. So saying that, I'd like to move my minutes as read, please.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Hebbs on his report? I just want to comment, thank you for reminding us about the storm that we had here, and I echo your comments. Was kind of the end of the day, and the storm blew in, and everybody, the people that were on the road, it was very, to go from a day like today to a ground blizzard was amazing and to see, and some of us were stranded in Calgary, some of us were driving from southern Alberta, people everywhere, but to have a place if you need to pull over was definitely appreciated, and definitely, you know, I support what you're saying, so. Go ahead.
I'd like to echo that as well, Burl. That was very timely, and I hope well received, because it was a very good thing. Thank you.
So my question with that process, how do we get asked to stand it up by like RCMP, or how does that work? Just curiosity.
Through the Reeve to council, and this particular event, yes, RCMP requested that the administration office building be opened as a reception center, and so staff quickly mobilized, and our peace officers were out to assist with the accidents were out there. And GM Bullock's group, they were out there and assisting with what they could do and had watched their safety as well. So yes, it was all activated with the accidents on the highways as they were being closed down.
That's important to say their safety as well, because if people on the road can't see, the grader operators can't see, or the plows can't see. So a lot of people don't understand that when it's like that, a lot of that equipment will be parked until it clears up and they can see. And I drove a plow truck many years ago, and I know the terrifying feeling of a whiteout and you not know if someone's in front of you or not. It's absolutely terrifying.
I might have forgotten to include our bylaw guys in that, and so if I've missed anybody in that, it was not intentional. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. That's carried. Division 3, Council report.
Good morning. My report's on the server. And I just wanted to say that the ASB tour is coming along very nicely. I'm very impressed. The organizers are doing a great job. I think we're going to have a very good. We're going to be able to host a lot of municipalities very confidently and do a good job on that. That's very nice to see. Community Futures, we had a Christmas event. It was a kind of a get to know the rest of the board, and a very nice event. Very nice committee to be on. Other than that, I'll just move my report as being presented.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I'll make the comment about the ASB tour. I've not been involved in any of the meetings, but I hear them being nominated to do lots, and absolutely I think all of our council should be expected to, when this is on, all of us are going to be step up and help. It's going to take all of us to make sure and welcome everybody that comes to the area and be good hosts, and there'll be lots of stuff that isn't planned that we have to deal with, I'm sure, because that's what happens when you have a number of people, but I'm sure with our team and the communication level that we have, we'll be able to overcome anything. It'll be like a duck on the water. Looks calm and the legs will just be flying underneath.
Just another comment on that. Tomorrow we have an ASB meeting and there will be requests for all of us.
Perfect. I'll cancel all my holidays. Yeah, sure. Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I will call the question. And that's carried. We'll move on to agenda item 7.5, Division 4 Council Report. Go ahead, Councillor Custer. Or sorry,
Keith.
Councillor Clayton, my apologies.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with the ABS tour crew. The lady that is involved in there is doing an extremely good job. It yesterday's meeting was very nice to attend. Anyway, this I went on that meeting, regular council meetings, the Wheatland Regional Partnership meet and greet, the Wheatland County Christmas party, which was well presented, and some people had some pretty good sweaters, that's for sure, sir. The Marigold Library, one of the questions that was asked by Shannon was why the Gleason Library didn't have computer access, and it's mainly the same story as we got before our letter that we just requested sent, is that Marigold Library hasn't been supported with any increases in funding since about 2018. And before that, they had what they call a program that the Canadian government had for community library systems that had $1,500 per library, and that was finished in 2012 and has never been replaced. So there's just, at a library level, they don't have any funds to do that. So going to the curb type of funding is a great idea. So I move my report as information.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any questions about the report? Comments? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question. And that's carried. We'll move on to Division 6 Council Report. Councilor Kester.
Yeah, my report's is on the server there. Yeah, I'm also impressed with the tour planning committee. It's moving along great. All staff volunteering, and there was one comment made by one of our consultants. We haven't had use the word told to here. I can't really say it. Told to volunteer, not told to volunteer. Told to tear, I think, is the way she put it. So instead of volunteering, you're told to tear. So that might be coming yet too, especially for the board members and council members. The Wheatland County Christmas party I thought was great. It seemed well attended, and also had a great WHMB Christmas dinner with the residents. They always enjoy that when the board comes out. It was a pretty special day. So if there's any questions, I'm ready to answer them, and if not, I'll move my report as presented.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Any questions about the report? Councilor Hebbs, and then looks like Councilor Laprise.
I just see like we skipped over the December 8th, the Wademza thing. There's nothing, just a normal meeting, nothing to report there?
No, nothing to report. It was in camera. It was talk with the lawyer. So it was basically a special meeting to talk to a lawyer. So there's nothing I can't say. It's in camera. Sorry. There's a Wademza meeting coming up here next week, I think, on Monday. And there's again one on Thursday. So just getting reacquainted with the board. I think the one on Monday is be on regular meeting. One on Thursday is a special meeting with the province, I believe. We'll see how it turns out.
Thank you.
Councilor Laprise?
Mine was the same question.
Okay,
Thanks.
fair enough. Asked and answered. Okay. Motion on the floor to accept the report as information. Any further questions? If not, I will call the question. And that's carried. 7.61, Wheatland Housing Management Body Letter of Support. Councillor Kester, I'm sure?
Okay, sure. I think everyone was at our December 6th meeting we had. I don't know if Donna was able to Zoom in. I wasn't running the Zoom. But I don't know if she was
I was
able
not
to
able
get
to,
in.
no.
I know oh, sorry.
I was not
about
able
that.
to, no.
We've had- Okay, there were people on the Zoom meeting too. Anyway, I thought it went very good. We had biggest talk seemed to be proceeding to a Class A budget, but there was no consensus on that. The major ask is for a letter of support for Minnesota's share of the $10 million, I believe. These letters will be part of the package that goes to the province on January 31st. I had a couple people helping me, and they sent me a slide. There, I see it. It's on my other computer. I got one computer for watch the meeting and another computer for agenda. Yeah. Okay, we can just turn that slide, please.
Councillor Bigger, can you see the slide?
No.
Okay. Is there a way we can make it so she can see that?
Can you just,
I
do you
can
wanna
see it
send
on
to
my
me?
Teams.
Oh, let me go back.
It's right now more or less a blank page.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now next page. So we send a letter of support for taking advantage of the AHPP grant process. I don't know exactly how much money that is, because it's in the process. The announcement will be in the second quarter at the provincial presentation. Province has total control over the process. They have total control how much they give. They have total control who gets it. All we can do is ask, and that's all we're doing now is asking. So the next slide, please. If we are accepted by the AHPP grant, and they say, yes, you qualify, and then we pass on to the next phase. And that phase is we have to get a Class A budget done. And that is needed for a federal submission. Now, we don't know for sure if it's part of the federal position because we haven't got any news yet on the federal position. It's the new homes. If you remember in the budget, the new government took out the CMHC and replaced it with Build Homes Canada, I believe it's called. And they don't have very many employees yet, so I don't know, but we're guessing it'll probably follow the same process. But when that time comes, we'll have to know before we do it. We're just not going to go ahead and do it unless we need it, if that's understood. Okay, the next slide. If I'm going too fast, please stop and ask the questions. If we pass Class A budget and we get our approval from the federal position submission from housing, the results are hopefully 120 new lodge beds. Still retain our 94 old lodge beds. And it'll be in Wheatland County. It's for Wheatland County residents. I know presently some of our residents are not from Wheatland County. Their ties vary, how they belong to Wheatland County. Families. In order to move into a lodge or extended care or any place that's supportive living, SL, I forget what number that is now. They changed all the numbers over to health. It's A and B. And I don't know what lodges are, what letter they're designated. But you have to be assessed. And you have to meet the age requirements. You have to meet the ability requirements to successfully move into the lodge. You also have to meet the disability requirements where you're having difficulty living out in your own home, whether it's isolation or mental livelihood of your loneliness, be what that is, or if you have arthritis and you're having trouble cooking for yourself, you definitely need to go to SL for more help. And then the next page, please. These results are also legislative. We'll carry that up higher. The cost for this Class A budget is shared between the 5 municipalities. And it's also assisted by WAHS contributes annually to their share of the housing operating expenses. They also share, which is presently 10% of all building and planning costs. That has been ongoing for a while, and they will continue to do that. And yeah, their help is really appreciated. This last go around, we needed $40,000 to pay for that meeting the other night and to get this application sent. And we may come up with a deal with the Hospice Society, and they forward us the money, and it'll be counted as we build this new lodge and hospice. For those that don't know, Wheatland Housing Management Body is a creature of municipal governance in the MGA. We have our own piece of legislation. It was passed by the government, I believe, in the 60s. I don't have it with me. It looked a little different than it is now, but we're totally answerable to the provincial government, especially the Minister of Seniors. They are in charge. It is their responsibility. We answer to the ministry. They are our number one focus. We send audits to them. We send them meeting reports. They come down and they, through their housing advisors mostly, are in regular contact with our CIOs. So I don't know, is there any more sheets, Sherry?
Yes. Through the
Okay,
yes.
yeah. Thank you, Sherry. It's got requisitions there. Our old requisitions vary between 200,000 and 400,000. It varies because we have very little leeway. We don't have a supportive reserve fund. So as larger expenses creep up, like a new roof or heating system, then boilers that we're using, super hots, they no longer make parts or supply parts anywhere for them. You need a part for it, you're out of luck, which is concerning because that's our heat supply in the lodge. And also, it's been a long time since I've been toured mechanicals of the building, but we do have a couple hot water tanks that are standalone in different spots. But I believe we have 2 hot water tanks that draw their hot water from the super hot boilers. If our super hots go down, I'm sure those hot water tanks go down. They're not cheap either. So we just crossing our fingers and keep watching them and doing what we can do for maintenance. But when they break, we're going to be in a little bit of a bind. And then the new, as was said at the January 6th meeting, that new requisition of 700,000 in the pro forma has the potential to go down after a few years, and the potential to actually go away. The mortgage payments, if I remember correct, are around $2 million. The lodge is able, in that pro forma, to, I think, come up with 101.4 million to start off. I don't know how that new pro forma worked out. They're still working on it. It looks like they found a way to lower our requisition costs. So the vault is still the same, 120 new lodge beds, 94 old lodge beds. And after it's all done, if we're having trouble filling the new lodge, then another decision will have to be made about the old lodge. But from what we're hearing, the shortage of housing in Strathmore and the different options that could be available to us, you don't know until you have beds who will take them. But we're fairly optimistic there'll be people that want them. But anyway, that's a little bit of a rundown of the meeting on the 9th. There was lots of questions. I appreciate everybody being polite and giving everybody a chance to talk, and questions were asked. But that's the nature of it. We're in the middle of the application still. He's got some finishing off to do. Didn't seem to be no flavor for Class A. Not that we wouldn't want one. See, if we had a Class A budget, we wouldn't have to do checking over this Class B budget all the time. It's done. And it's good for a while. But if you don't have the Class A, you have to keep rechecking it, which costs more money. But we don't have the 1.2 or $4 million to spend on a Class A. But if there's any questions, I'd answer them. Otherwise, I believe we have included a sample letter. It's much like the last letter we sent. It's our portion of the $10 million is, so we sign this letter. That means we like what we heard and we can carry on. When the AHP gets in and the government hands us a grant and it has qualifications attached to it like most do, and if municipalities don't like the qualifications, whatever changes were done, you have a chance to not support it. And also you can support the AHPP, and if you don't support the conditions on the mortgage is the federal share, you can also choose. So this isn't the drop dead. We can actually sign this letter, show our support, and it doesn't cost us any money today. And we can sit back and we can wait for the AHPP to make the decision and see how it goes. The most important thing, we have to support it 100%. Like being out there that definition of insanity, you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different answer. This time it's a little bit different. Very changed up the application. How he's coming along with it, he is. But we're asking 100% support from the municipalities. That means you write a letter and you don't make comments how it's no good, or comments on you don't like this or that. We wait for another general meeting and keep the comments in a meeting format so everybody can hear them at once, so everybody can answer them, and everybody can share in the decision-making process. We want this municipalities application. It is for our people. There is a great need. People are leaving the community that can't find a place to live. And I find that live here your whole life, your family's here, and you have to move to an empty bed that could be, I know a lot go to Vulcan or Didsbury, but they're certainly not handy like the lodges in Strathmore. So if there's no more questions, I'll move that we send this letter of commitment, sign it, and email it to CAO of Wheatland Housing.
I have a question.
Okay,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Councillor Bigger.
Yeah, so is this, it says there, share of the 10 million, has that changed from the last, would our share changed? Have the dollars changed since our last motion?
Oh, you'll have to give me a second here. I had that information. It's changed a little bit. Not much, basically the same, Donna. The 10 million is the total we put in.
So what is
in a
our
different
shared
room now?
contribution then?
I'm just looking it up. You can go on the Alberta website and you can look up equalized assessment. And you can get the equalized assessment for a lot of different years. 226 eco assessments are on the website.
On whose
Look it
website?
up. Alberta municipalities. You can look that up.
I would,
I'm
I
just
would
trying
want
to
to,
find it
I just
here.
want to find out if there's any money change, then it's a kind of a different, we have to really, I think that has to be
Can
almost
you
like a different
remember what our
motion.
percentage? Yeah, will you remember what our percentage was last year? I never looked that up.
I think
Can
administration
you
has information here for us from the last time we looked at this, the actual numbers, so go ahead.
Yes, sorry, through the Reeve to the members. So the average, I believe it was, we looked at 4 or 5 year running average, and it is approximately 66% a year. Is kind of the share based on equalized assessment. And it changes by decimals year to year, but 66% is a good rough figure to use.
So 66% of 10 years.
66%.
So did you look at this year's equalized assessment?
Through the Reeve,
Josh?
we would have this year's available just before the final budget period. It usually comes in a little bit later than now.
So what was the
One-
dollar amount on our last motion? Was it 4.8 million or something? So was that's gonna change then, right?
Do we have that answer?
The last one we wrote, I don't think there was any money on it. And it
Through
was our share, the $10 billion.
That's correct. Through the Reeve to Council, the dollar amount was removed from the last letter of support. It just did full support without mentioning any dollar amount.
And I believe that was your motion, Donna. And also, from
yeah.
the new equalized assessment I got off of the website, Alberta Municipal website, is the total equalized assessment in the counties, $8,121,686,724. Wheatland County's is $5,124,488,852, which represents 63.1%. So our share has gone down a little bit. If I did my math right, I did it every way upside down, testing it. And
So out of that,
So what-
how does, I have another, I guess a follow-up question then too. So so the
Okay.
town's gonna put in for their money's amount, they're gonna deduct off their portion the assessment of the land, right?
yeah,
They're gonna take that off. But now the assessment of that land, and maybe I'm wrong, but now that land is not only owned by WHMB, it's also owned by the hospice. So how does that percentage work then?
that and is still owned by the town of Strathmore.
Through the Reeve to Council, that's correct. What Councillor Kester said, it is still from the motion that was in the resolution tracker for WHMB, is that it's still in the ownership of Town of Strathmore, and the motion read that once everything goes through, then it would be in the name of both parties. It would be transferred from the town to the WHMB and Hospice Society.
So it's not so sure. It's not a done deal that a hospice society will have their name on it either. Lawyers are still working. There are different ownership. Just because you are part of a condo doesn't mean you own the land. There are different forms of protecting your investment in the condo agreements that are made up. I don't know what the condo agreement that the WID and library have, but they're functioning good. They share a building. Both of them are a different line of work, that's for sure. And things seem to be getting along pretty darn nice. I haven't seen my irrigation bill go up and pay for any library stuff. Library doesn't own WID. They're just partners, an offshoot of their business.
Oh,
So,
true, and I
most
feel,
I can tell
I
you.
feel like it could be probably done. It's just that it gets kind of complicated when one is funded through municipal tax dollars and one we can't. And I think it just complicates things that,
But it,
when
you're
you're a project that it's together.
A hospice hasn't asked for any funds from the municipalities. They're running right now. They've got a bank account nearing $10 million. They've supplied counseling to well over, I believe, 100 people last year. They are out there working. They go in their homes, the hospital, the lodge. They are functioning. They just need a storefront, a place to put the beds in. They're their own thing. WID doesn't function and pay for the library, nor does the library pay for WID. They pay for their share of the building. So the reason why you build a building together, same reason was we asked the hospice, is to share in the expenses. We got one power meter, one gas meter. We can allocate the bills on who pays for what. Housekeepers can go across, open a door and clean there, and the laundry. All those can be shared and individually expensed out back and forth. That's how we can save a little bit of money. We were asked to take on partners when we started this project. The hospice is stuck. We had a couple other partners approach, and we talked with them, and their needs were, we couldn't meet their needs. Most common was the cost. They were looking for something that they could get from renting an older building in town, say. Or one group partnered up with another group that was a better fit for them, and they were able to raise money through that group. So it's whatever worked for you. So far, this hospice is working for us. We can share the kitchen. We can share a whole common area there. But the hospice is also not part of the daily living of the lodge. You can't see the operations. You go down the hallway and you got to go through a committee room. I just don't have the plans in front of me. And that's the hospice. It has a separate entrance. It's not the end of the wing. It has a separate parking lot, but it's still part of the main parking lot. So it's separate. Same as the Marigold and WID. They're separate, but it's the same building. They're making wiser use of the money to support their building. Now, as every year changes, our assessment, our share of that $10 million changes. If I did my numbers right, it's 63% this year, 35% for the town, and about 1 maybe 1.5% for the villages. Another interesting, I thought it was, 700,000 divided by the 8,121,686,724. It's 0.000862 or 0.0862 mils. So that's what Wheatland Housing, to pay for this mortgage, would have to charge a mill rate. The requisition would be that mill rate. So you could apply that mill rate to your property, and that house, it's $1 million house, would pay $86 for the requisition. That house can be in Rocky Ford, Strathmore County. The only difference is the way the municipality allocates its money. So in Wheatland County, close to 2/3 of our money's made by linear. In Hazar, close to all their money is made by residential. So in Hazar, that house would cost that much. In Wheatland County, that house would cost maybe $60, I'm guessing. I never figured that out because it's just a rabbit hole. But that's what the cost is. And then 63% of $10 million, well, that's $6 million, 300,000. 10 million makes it pretty easy to figure out.
So the question was actually not on the build, it was actually on operations, because it's the operations that we get, that we requisition on. So you've got a building that you've got two people operating, and there'll be operating expenses, but we can only pay on the actual lodge expenses. That was the question. Thanks.
Okay, so you're absolutely right. Wheatland Housing cannot requisition for anything but lodge expenses. We can't requisition for hospice expenses. It's against the law. We can't do it. There's no way that can be done. You can only get a requisition for a lodge expense. And this lodge is being developed, the performa, that there'll be no lodge is self-sufficient for operating expenses. We'll be able to cover our own operating expenses. There'll be no requisitions. Everything works out according to Hoyle. No requisition for operating expenses. So the new lodge will be able to generate enough money to pay the operating expenses, pay for a reserve, whatever that board decides. And if the board decides to trim back the reserve because we don't need it so high in the first 10 years, we can lower the $700,000 requisition. It's just the way that the board can choose what they need. If that makes sense. But we cannot, it's illegal to requisition for hospice. Can't do it.
Okay, council, just so you know, we have a 10:30 appointment. probably people need a bathroom break before that, including the people online. I just want to know, do we want to go for 5 more minutes, or do we want to break now and table this till after we meet with the lawyers at 10:30? What does council want to do?
I'm ready for it.
Because the discussion's going to go, I just anticipate this discussion's going to go probably at least another half an hour. I want to not, I don't want to break it, but we have to break it. We have a,
Discussion, it's wrangling.
sorry? I didn't hear that. Yeah.
My question really comes down to one small question. Do we need a new lodge? Do we support a new lodge? Can we get behind a new lodge? It's not all the little pins and needles and trying to get the final absolute cost, because you won't have that until quite a bit later in life. The question really comes down to really simple. Do you support our asset, and our asset is the lodge, and that's the county's asset, at 63 years old, getting on with building a new lodge so we've got the ability to handle the people in our county in the future? And you can't do it by not supporting it. It's just a simple question. And it's, my apologies, I just have a hard time getting my head around asking, what can we do to help?
So without going further into debate here, because I think we do have to take a break, I just want to know, does council want to go for 5 more minutes? I just want to watch the clock here. Go ahead.
I would say 5 minutes easily turns into 10 minutes. I think we should, let's postpone, or not postpone, but
Table.
table it
Yep.
until we come back after the closed session. Because we need to give it fair
Absolutely.
treatment, and we're just rushing it by this
Yeah,
way.
and that's my intent. I don't want to rush it. I wanted to have fair treatment. So what we'll do is I'll table this. I'll need a motion to table this. Counselor,
I'll move that we table the discussion on the Wheatland Housing Management Body Letter of Support until council reconvenes after the closed session.
thank you. Motion's on the floor, and the motion that's still Kester put forward, what do we deal with that? That stays with the tabling, correct? Just want to make sure we're not going to lose anything, okay? So we have a motion to table till after, because we have a hard stop we have to do. I'll call the question. Sorry, we'll have to wait for Shannon to put it forward. Okay, it's up here. And I appreciate that we have people participating remotely, and it's difficult for them to hook up onto the other system, and that's carried. So we will table this. I will take a recess, and we will start in camera at 10:30 in the committee room. And for those online, hopefully IT can make sure you guys get into that. Thank you. Resuming council, we have a motion arising from in-camera item, and it's just one of the in-camera items we'll deal with real quick, and then we'll go back into motion to lift. So it'd be section 26, disclosure harmful to government relations, Reed Township Road 240. Does anyone want to make a motion?
So moved.
I'll read out the motion. Where's the motion? Sorry. The motion before us is the council directs administration to pursue recovery of outstanding costs from the town of Strathmore related to the East Calgary Regional Water Line on Township 40 as discussed in camera. Is that the motion you're making? Yes? Okay. Motion before us, any discussion? I will call the question by e-scribe. That is carried. The lifting motion, does it have to be made by the same person that? Okay, We need a motion to lift agenda item 7.61 from the table.
I'll move that we lift agenda item 7.61 from the table.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. And that's carried. So we'll resume discussion, and we were just talking about the the letter of support for WHMB. And Councillor Kester, did you want to continue on or just going to take questions?
I'm thinking I'm just in question taking mode. Yeah, I don't think there's
Okay.
anything else I want to add.
So before we went into the other item, I had Councillor Hebbs had his hand up and then Councillor Clayton. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to, Councillor Clayton, and respectfully, you said that you're all in, you either totally support it or you don't. But I have the description of a Wheatland County councillor here, whether we're fiduciary or we're not. We are expected to conduct procurement and manage public funds with integrity, openness, and transparency, ensuring best value for our residents. So I reject the idea that you're all in or you're not all in. I think that the support has to have the best value portion of it in there, because that's our job.
Councillor Clayton.
The all in or all out was not even a part of the question. I asked the question, do you need a new lodge built? That's a simple question. And the fiduciary side is up to a whole new part of, or not a new part, but part of the actual project to get that part of it done right. To get costs and that kind of stuff is an ongoing process, and you can't. We're asking the question, do we need the new lodge built? And do we have support to proceed with getting that done the best way possible? I'm not disputing the fact that we need to be in charge of funds. That's not the issue. The issue is, do we need the lodge built? Thank you.
Councillor Priest, and then did you? Okay.
So if that's the case, if we're just saying we need the lodge or we don't need the lodge, then I would recommend we take out the $10 million part in the letter of support. The $10 million, having said that we pledge our share of the $10 million, means that we have reviewed the financial implications of all of this, and our administration has looked at what it will cost taxpayers. Glenn had some numbers about what it would cost per house, and I have other numbers just because we do math differently, or we're looking at different information or whatever. We need, if we're pledging money, then we need our administration to look at the details of that and understand exactly what it would cost taxpayers. So I agree with you. I think we need a lodge, but this letter is asking us for a financial commitment. And so with that, I think we need more information. Numbers have changed since the last time we discussed this. So if it's just a matter of do we need it or don't we need it, then the letter of support should just remove the dollar amount.
Councillor Laverson.
I'll just add a couple things. So there's been there's been this confusion, and people just don't seem to get some of this stuff. At the last meeting, there was talk about, well, Shasta and all of their stuff. That has nothing to do with the Wheatland Lodge. It is a for-profit organization that competes with Sagewood. It has nothing to do with the lodge. When people at the lodge can't stay at the lodge, then their option is Shasta or Sagewood or somewhere else. Full stop. When you talk about the hospice, The hospice is not asking the Wheatland County for a penny. They never have, and they won't. They have their own money. They're building their portion of the lodge. It's going to be attached to the Wheatland Lodge because it just makes economies of scale. They are paying their share. That's in the letter of support. We're not asking for this council to pay anything to the hospice. So I think we need to be clear on this. And it seems like we can never be clear on this because these two questions keep coming up time after time after time. It's as Councillor Clayton said, do you want a lodge or not? End of discussion.
Councillor Hebbs?
Well, Rick, you actually just underscored people's concerns. Every time this discussion comes up, the hospice is thrown in, and the hospice is not the purview of Wheatland County, but it's in our building, and now we're going to share the same meter. Like, that's not a condo agreement. Like, we're asking for a mortgage, and we don't even know who owns what percentage of the land or what the thing on the down payment's going to be. If I was in public life and I was going to go borrow a pickup with that information, and Rick, so it's a muddling factor. It has to be. You just said it's a muddling factor. I agree with you.
I did not say it was a muddling factor. I say people keep bringing it up and muddling the waters with it. It is a completely separate issue. And as your response has just told me, you still don't get it. So how can I help you understand that better?
So previous councils have had hospice in this room and mentioned the possibility of funding. So that's where some of that did come from at some point. And it's never, I think it was, the amount was, but there was talk about having operational contributions to the hospice. It has been discussed in this room before. So that's probably where it's coming from.
Not with regard to the new lodge build that we're talking about.
Anyone else? So there are some things
Just
that
to
I heard.
clarify,
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Kester.
I think those were the initial meetings.
You might have to
back in
speak up a little bit.
about
Can't hear
2000.
you.
I think those were initial meetings that you've been heard about the hospice when they're initially, and I think that was in about 2018. Okay. Some people have long memories, I guess, but the hospice is not asking for any money currently. It was talked about in 2018. That was a different bill, a different time. Fiduciary duty was mentioned. You have a fiduciary duty as a councillor to Wheatland County. Board members also have a fiduciary duty to the Minister of Housing, Seniors, by sitting on that board. To explain to you the process of how we got to these numbers, I'll fill in some of the gaps for you. Back in 2016, I believe it was, we did a needs assessment. This needs assessment by Gordon and Associates showed we needed, at the peak of the boom period, 400 more beds using the very criteria that the province uses. So we proceeded with that, and we hired an architect, and we applied for eventually in 2021 for that grant that for services that Shasta also applied for, and Shasta was successful and Wheatland Housing was not. So we had to drop that whole idea because we didn't win, and Shasta won, and they are carrying through. So the good thing is there, Strathmore is still getting, Shasta, it's getting more care beds. It's a good thing. Anyway, the Wheatland Housing, we had to pivot. And when I was at a meeting with the ADM in Calgary, I asked her, or ADM secretary, I don't know, can't keep all the titles straight. Linda Cuppins was the building, the finance top person. I asked her who we should ask to help us out. She says, "You're right, you need help." And the name is Derek Wise. I wrote that down. She says, "I'll send you his information." I says, "If he's busy or anything, do you have a second choice?" And she just said Derek Wise. So Derek Wise, turns out, he took our plea for help. That's what he does. He's in high demand. A lot of the projects and affordable housing that are approved in Alberta, he has done. So the province of Alberta has a matrix. Before you even get serious about anything, your plan has to fall in the parameters of their square footage. And I think, I'm just remembering now, I don't have Derek here to fall back on, but I think the square footage for a lodge is about 900 or 925 square feet per room. And our design meets that criteria. The criteria to get to the 925 is the square footage of the room, plus the hallways, plus the dining room, plus the offices, plus the kitchen, plus all the public areas, stairwells, divided by the rooms. And if you're into that 900, 925, you've met that criteria. And at the time, when we started out with a Class D budget. So you take the square footage and you look at the people that are building lodges in the province. People in the province are just about done and they're adding their costs in. And there was so much a door that they were putting them up for. I don't have a clue what that number is now. But anyway, you take that number and you multiply it by your square footage and you get the cost for your lodge on a Class D budget. So as the process continues on, that Class D budget doesn't really mean a lot. It's just average costs over average floor area. Nothing particular to your site. So we have to carry on the process. So the process was, we had Derek hired. We had to hire a project manager. So we went out to the marketplace, had a tender, and we ended up hiring M3. We went out to the marketplace and we hired a construction consultant. That ended up to be Bird Consulting. Now, under these two, M3 and Bird, they have the authority to go and hire short-term contractors to help price them out a new building. So when that process started, there was COVID. And price of lumber went from 300 or 400 per thousand. I think it was up to, I don't know, don't shoot me, 15 or 1600 bucks per thousand, which is hugely more expensive. So different building systems were being deployed, being used because they were too expensive before. Build with steel, concrete, like cast in place concrete. And there's also precast. So looking at our situation, and our consultants got prices for wood and cast in place and precast. Precast wall that you see them drive out in a truck and a crane lifts up, that wall costs more than getting the materials delivered and sitting down there on the ground and building that wall. However, when that piece of precast comes out, there's a crane there and it sets it up, and puts the floors on, puts another height of walls on, builds the whole thing. It all fits together like pieces to a puzzle. It cuts the job site work time down about 3 months. That's where the saving is. The workers on site are there 3 months less. And what makes it didn't help our situation is we're far enough from the city of Calgary. When we hire workers to work on this, they have to be given isolation pay, higher wages, because they have to go to Strathmore and work. That's the way of the game. So that's why we picked precast concrete. So we picked precast concrete. Blueprint, or we didn't have blueprints, our scale mauling, our schematic drawings were built for wood. Some of them, the precast, the weight-bearing walls are in the wrong place and needed different clearances. And precast outfit, Eagle Builders, and the architect sat down and changed the schematics footprint, if you say, so they can make it all fit, be within the building code. So interestingly enough, this go around, they had to be consulted again because there has been an update to how much energy a building can, of this nature, from the federal government, I believe, says how energy efficient it has to be. So our precast specifications had to change because we didn't meet that new code. So it took some time, but they were able to say, yes, they can do this and this and that, and they can meet the code. That's a change. It's something that had to be done. So when all these prices get put together, somebody has to look over them. It is a requirement to have a third party audit all your quotes. So I think it's Brooker House is another firm that we have contracted or ask, use, pay for their services. And that's what they do. They're third party auditors and they confirm the numbers. It's not Wheatland County or the board or me personally, because honestly, none of those people have any experience in seeing if these numbers are right. these construction people know, and that's who we used. That's who was recommended by a list of things from the Alberta government, because ultimately they're the ones that approve it. It's theirs. It's their say. So that is the fiduciary part on the housing side. We have a matrix, we fill it out, get the numbers, and then we get a third party to audit it. Not much different than when we're building something in the county. Engineer provides us with some numbers that we hire out to get. And then we send it off to our engineers in the county, McElhaney, and they go through it and they make comments. And eventually we settle on a price. Same process, just the provinces in there, different board. Still exactly the same process. I just thought I'd throw that in. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to wait at a discussion here about maybe not having the dollar amount in there. Is that something we want to try to negotiate on the letter, or is that what council wants, or is that, I heard one person, that's also.
The last letter, we didn't put it on. Letter before that, we had a whole big budget. This letter was suggested by Eric Wise. It's to give some comfort to the municipalities that it won't be over the 10 million. It's not binding, that's what it's going to be. It's just saying that you're going to pay your share of the costs. As I mentioned, when the costs come out, you have another chance to say, hey, that's out of my league, that's out of my budget, or what I'm hoping to hear is, hey, this is great. We can get a new lodge. We're going to put $10 million in. We're going to get a $60 million build out of this. Our seniors will be happy. That's what I want and expect to hear. But maybe something upsets and it comes back and it's not the 10 million anymore.
Okay.
You got time to say so then and change your mind. But now I would, because it was put in there by our consultant, who we have complete faith in, the board does, I would have a tendency to leave it in, not so much to make me feel good, but it should make the county feel good that we're not okaying something for more than $10 million. That's all we okayed, is up to $10 million, our share. If you want to take it out, yeah, I don't know what the problem would be if there's any ramifications. I didn't hear any ramifications from the last letter that didn't have the $10 million in.
Administration?
Yes, through the Reeve to council, there is a motion on the floor without that. And so whether it would be an amendment to the motion, a friendly amendment. So we have to deal with the first motion that's on the floor.
Fair enough.
What was that? Sorry.
Motion's on the floor that to approve the letter as presented, so. If it was, I was just kind of seeing if there's a friendly amendment or something like that. Doesn't sound like there is, so go ahead.
Yeah, just speaking to Ann, and that would be fine with me, but one of the things you could put in there instead of a dollar value is to cover the Wheatland County's costs required to proceed with the project. And if that is nice and wide open to you, well, that's fine. But my concern is that the actual number that you're trying to throw around is not a fixed number yet. You know, and it can't be. And until you get a lot farther down the road constructing. But what you do need is a letter saying that you support the build, so that the province can look at the project and decide how much money they're going to give. And that hasn't been shown yet. It might cover us a lot more than the minimum amount, let's put it that way, because they have in the past increased the amount that the province puts in, which may, I don't know, Glenn, but it may even decrease the amount that we have to put in. But I don't, what they want to know is will we want to go ahead with the build? And so if you want to remove that number, I think it could be possible.
Councillor Hepps?
I still got a lot of questions, very fulsome, responsible questions before we go on to any other kind of motion, in my opinion. Thanks.
Councillor Priest?
So just a question to administration. If I were to propose an amendment to remove the dollar amount, we would vote on the amendment, right? And then it would come back to the main motion.
Through the that's correct. You would make an amending motion and then you would debate the amending motion. And then if it fails, it goes back to the main motion.
Right.
So I have some notes here, and I just kind of, as the discussion is going along. So one of the things that was mentioned was the new type of care and the ABC classifications, and I've researched this a little bit. So A is long-term care, B is SL4, which is funding assisted living, and C is hospice. So that's just one thing I wanted to clarify because people were, listening to this. The one question I had, when would the dollar figures be needed? And what I'm hearing here now is after provincial approval, the board is seeking a Class A budget to go to federal, but we don't know. Build Canada, like CMHC has been around for 50 years that I know of. I had it on my first house and a mortgage, and it's no longer there. And they've completely wiped out to Build Canada that has no population in it as staff. So there's a huge unknown there. We have no idea how it's going to work out. I've looked at the website; it's pretty vague. So we have no idea if it's going to follow the existing. That's just an assumption, right? We honestly don't know if they're going to ask for 10%, 20%, 3%, or if there's going to be, and then the intake on that. I mean, they have to staff up. That could be, I'm assuming, a couple months at least to get up and running for that next hurdle. The one thing about the old lodge, originally proposed a while ago, was that the old lodge it was no longer a safe building. It was older building. It was going to cost too much. So we were going to basically go away from that. So now we're keeping it. So the one question I can ask, is there an asset management in place for the old lodge right now? Is the board actually doing that and has an active ongoing thing? So most of those concerns about the boilers and stuff would be addressed through asset management. You'd be putting money away and things like that. So that's good.
You want an answer to that?
Well, I just saw Councillor Laursen was nodding his head. So I guess, yes, if you can answer that would be good. Yeah.
I'll fill in a few details there. So originally we were going to, the original plan was to decommission the old lodge and strictly have a new lodge. As we experience delay after delay after delay, then the price goes up, goes up, goes up. Now we can't afford to build that lodge that we wanted to build. So now we're looking at building this lodge and keeping the old one alive as long as we can. It also gives us a great cushion because if we don't fill up the new lodge as fast as we think we are, it's easy to move to, okay, we'll just put everybody over there and then we can sell that asset. As far as an asset management plan, the lodge does have a comprehensive asset management plan.
And I mean, debate here is good because we're talking 60-year mortgage at $2 million a year. I probably won't be around by the time that's paid for. My kids will. So, and I've followed the baby boomers my whole life, and I've always been told it's a big glut of population. I've seen the graphs, and I've also been told that my kids will be, and my generation isn't, it's a known factor. There's just not as many of us out there. So these buildings are going to be empty or repurposed for something. So that's a reality. I've heard recently the answer to that was, well, there's immigration, there's more people coming in here, and we're going to use that. To me, that's not a good answer because that's an unknown. And we have way too many people coming in here now. And it's driving the cost up, which makes cost of living higher, which makes affordable housing, like it's just a domino effect. Do we need a new lodge? I agree, we need a new lodge. Is it this proposal? I don't think it is. I think it's something smaller in the future. That's just me. Councillor Kester, you mentioned that the application has changed from last time. Can you elaborate on that? Because to me, it looks very similar to the last one, other than the costs have gone up.
Building codes.
Building codes, okay. Just the codes, you had updated building
Increase.
codes.
Yeah, there was an increase in price for the building codes, more insulation. More
And the other thing,
different molds for the precast cement. And another thing, the mortgage for this building is mostly paid for by the building. There's no requisitions for operations or payment of the mortgage. Mortgage, the 700,000, $10 million isn't a third of the building. Municipalities are borrowing some money for their contribution. That's what that 700,000 is. And that's why it goes away after a few years. It gets paid for. Did you understand that?
yeah, so I guess a
The
simpler question.
The building itself is, I hope it lasts longer than 50 years. But by having a 50-year mortgage, that the people of the day and time are paying for it. They're not paying for it to have some home equity, because when they need to move to a type A or B, they don't need any home equity anymore. They're just moving to a different level of care. So they're paying for the building and the use at that particular time of day. And usually always has been at a highly preferred rate of interest that municipalities can't even get it for. And I know it's a huge unknown. We dealing with the federal government and CMHC gone now, and they're going to do Canada Homes. And last I heard, there's one person working there, and what's it going to look like? And if we don't get it, that mortgage under those same rates as CMHC, it makes this project unaffordable. And there's another out. We don't do it. We can't go to open market and make this work. It has to be the same deal as it was before. So the question was asked by another councillor, are you serious about building a new lodge? Or you really want this? The same question can be said to the governments of this country. Do you want to help the seniors? Do you really want to help them and start building affordable housing? They have to answer the same thing and make it affordable housing. There was one other question too, I heard I could have answered, but I'll think about it later. Okay, thanks, Scott.
Thank you. So I'll just ask this question because it's been kind of asked a certain way, and I'm just be very direct about it. So say, for instance, it's a $2 million mortgage, and for whatever reason, you don't have the population in that building to support that. The backstop is requisition. You have to pay that bill. I'm not saying it is a possibility. Like a pandemic hits or something and we lose, whatever. There's all kinds of things that come up. That's a reality that 2 million, we're basically responsible for the debt of that organization, operational debt that cannot be paid.
Yeah, if it doesn't fill up and it stays on full, then the mortgage is at risk and they'd have to requisition.
Okay.
As Rick said, we have the old lodge fall back on, we could close that down, fill it up right then and there. And moving on into the future, we're beside 1.5 million people. That would fill up in a day if we let it to go out there. Couldn't physically move in a day, there'd be too many people. But we're beside probably one of the biggest markets in Canada, at a half-hour drive away.
I just have a couple more things and then I'll be done here. One is the needs assessment is a little bit out, a couple years old. And when you just talked about the geographical area, I know in neighboring municipalities, there's stuff that has been built, things that have been converted. There is different care levels that will affect a small percentage of the population that will go straight to some of these facilities. Has anybody ever requested to do an updated needs assessment?
We did the needs assessment, I believe, in 2016. When this round of funding, AHPP, was invented, this is the 4th round. When the first round was invented, we hired out and we got an updated needs assessment. Derek did that for us. It's a 1-page affair instead of a nice glossy little book. For $40,000, he did it in 2 pages and no glossy pages. And I think it cost around $7,000 or $8,000. But it's all that a needs assessment is looking at the census and taking the numbers from the census and extrapolating them on the worksheet that is provided for this kind of work. So this year, I believe, 2026, I believe another census is coming, and it will probably be different numbers. Strathmore is growing, Wheatland County is growing. So if anything, the need is going to grow. We're not suffering people in our area are in for. The last census I've seen, Wheatland County was one of the few counties that actually had an increase in population.
Okay. So that kind of leads me into my next thing. So I know very little about this at the start, and I'm many years and I've learned a lot. Talked to a lot of people that are in the age group that honestly should be in the lodge right now. And I can say 95% of them are staying at home, and including family members that I know and neighbors. And they told me straight out, I will go to, when I have to leave my home, I'm going to go to a higher level of care, which completely skips a lodge. It goes to the Shastas and that kind of thing. And that's just what I'm hearing. So I ask, and the graphs and the numbers are based on population and assumptions that they're going to do this. But from what I see and what I see out in local rural areas is unless they need to leave home, they don't want to. And that's
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So
You're
we'll be
absolutely right. Nobody wants to leave their home.
Yeah.
But statistics show 20% run out of opportunities or chances.
Okay.
It's not our needs assessment doesn't cover everybody. You must know lots of older people that did not go to the lodge. Heavens, most of them don't go to a higher level of care.
Yeah.
But there's
And that's not right.
always an age group, a certain percentage do. Right now, the average age of someone going into the lodge is, I think, 91. 91. And I believe the average age of the people in the lodge is 88 or 87. The average length of time spent in the lodge is 3 years. We have a turnover rate of around 30%. To get into the lodge, you have to be assessed, right? To get into an A or B level of care, you have to be assessed. You can't just say, oh, today's the day I'm moving to Sagewood. It's a nice building. I like the view. I've got a great room opened up. That's my time. Nah, no, that's not how it works. You have to be assessed. And you're
that-
given.
That assessment is from a doctor or through AHS, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, the lodge board
A
does not.
nurse.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, no. We
Okay.
can't even set the parameters. The only thing we can put in is we would like you have to live in the county for at least 1 year. And they got a little box there they check off. So if I go in and I want to move into the lodge, you live in the county? Yeah. And that's the only box I can check off. I'm healthy, I'm running around. And another person comes and they're from Chestermere and they have arthritis. It's dangerous for them to boil a pot of water. They can get around, they can dress themselves. They need some company. Or do you live in the county? Nope, so that box stays empty. But all the other boxes add up to more than, and they would probably get into the lodge, right? So it's a scoring thing. How many points you get, and that's who gets to go in.
Okay.
Oh, here's the other thing we were talking about. We want a smaller lodge. When we started, we chose 140, 165, then got down to 140. It was for that application to have 100 lodge beds, 60 back then there were SL3, SL4. We could apply for a contract to run them as SL3 and 4. And for the lodge, we weren't successful. So when we hired Derek, be our consultant, he says, well, what do you want to build? So he says, well, we got this 140 bed idea in our head. And it fits on this piece of land. And no, we didn't even have the land then. And he says, well, 140, how would you come up with that number? And said, it just basically sounded nice because of the care that we thought we were going to get, but we're not getting the care. So he said, something to think about. There is a critical number. When you're in a business, restaurant business, trucking business, any business, there's a critical number, a critical amount of work or a critical amount of service you have to provide to pay, to generate enough income to pay for all your inputs, right? So the critical number for a lodge to run as efficiently as it can is that 100 to 125 window. That is the most efficient window. Makes the best use of staff, best use of management, for the amount of employees you have to have. They all got a job and they can keep busy, they're efficient. And it's much the same as our lodge is now. It's running good, 195 beds. Sometimes we have more if we got couples. But it's that around that 100 bed thing is the highest efficiency for the building, for the critical mass.
Just want to ask, is lunch here? Okay. Okay. So let's take it, well, we don't have a table, we'll just break for lunch. Yeah, and then we'll there's some people I'm getting that because we started a new session with that new number, the public doesn't have access.
Oh, I was gonna tell you that. I tried phoning in and I couldn't get through.
So if there's a way we can get that out there with the system, because it's not really fair. They thought it was one thing and now we've created a new.
Yes, through the chair,
Yeah.
they have advertised it on social media, the new.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so we'll recess for lunch, say, well, we'll come back at 1. That work?
Okay.
Oh, there he is. Okay, we're good. Thanks, Glenn. So, we're resuming, council. Right now, we have a what's that? Okay. Is that something on our end? We just have one counselor that can't hear online.
Hi, Glenn, could you just leave the call and rejoin?
Sounds like you heard that, or looks like you heard that.
Hello?
We can hear you. Can you
Oh,
hear us?
good. Okay, I can hear you too. I just couldn't hear me.
Fair enough.
Old school.
Okay. So welcome back, council. We are resuming discussions on the letter of support. We have a motion on the floor from Councillor Kester that council approved letter of support presented for the proposed Wheatland Housing Management Body Project as presented. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
So Councillor Kester, there just before the break, you had mentioned that our consultant had said like 140 beds is ideal or something. We're going with 120. But when I look on the website, and I must say, I haven't looked that closely, but when I think of the Alberta website that shows the amount of approvals, and I'm going off memory here, so you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going off of memory. I think the biggest approval I saw was 90 beds, which is like 25% smaller than ours, or, our 120 would be 25%, 30% larger, I guess would be thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what I haven't studied that website much. I did know that some of those, it was not 140 was the optimum size. 100 to 125 was the peak of efficiencies. And I don't know who got those lodges and why they only applied for 90 or where they are, their circumstances at all. I just know our circumstances. And I don't know if that even creeps into the government's mind, if it's how big it is. I don't know.
Okay. Any other discussions? Go ahead.
So when we go back to the January 2nd or January 6th meeting, with the informational meeting, I did ask our consultant whether it's fiduciary and best practice, and he said best practice. I understand that. But then my next question for him was, how many lodge hospice combos have been applied for besides ours? 0. We are the only ones that are applying for a lodge hospice combo. So then my next question for him was, how many lodge hospice combos is there in the province? And there's 0. So, we hear some of these reasons why we're not getting, why we're getting declined and stuff, but to my knowledge, that's the first time anybody's asked that question.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any. We could be a first. We were told we were a first when we first applied. And the ministers were quite happy with us. Actually got a partner that's a good fit. Nobody's ever said anything to us about partnering up with the hospice. Like, I've not heard of any. How many partnerships how many co-builds have you heard from between a library and an irrigation district?
Fair question, Glenn, but neither one of them require ministerial support after that. I guess, you know, and in all fairness to everybody involved, and I understand the passion that the lodge board and the hospice board bring to it, and actually appreciate that. You know, I think we need both. I'm not sure this is the right venue, but that's to be discussed yet. But if you go back and look, so I went and looked at hospices, right? And so the first kind of private hospice I could see was Points West in Stettler. And it might go back sooner than that, but it started in 2013. And that started with, give or take, 88 beds of different levels and one hospice bed. Fast forward to 2026 here in Wheatland County, and respectfully, you know, we need to give the UCP some kudos here, maybe rather than kind of asking them pointed questions, like, because you get to 2026 here in Strathmore and it's roughly 80 or 90 beds, you know, of different varying levels of care, but there's 6 hospice beds, right? So, you know, we can discuss what different ministers have said, and they're all going to say different stuff, you know, depending on the price of oil and how brave they are and public pressure. But what the governments have been showing us all the way back to, I think that was Premier Redford all the way back in 2013, if I recall. So the government has been telling us that's the way it's going. We can take some of the emotion out of that and say the quality of care isn't as good, or 26% less, or whatever the number we pick, which isn't my position. But the fact of the matter is that's what the province, who's the banker, has been showing us they're doing.
In 2021, province come out with a request for proposals for continuing care. 31 communities in Alberta were deemed, I don't know what the word is, urgent, not critical, but urgent need of care. Strathmore was one of them. They were requesting a request for proposals for 110 care beds and 6 hospice beds. That's what the Alberta government put on their website and asked for requests for proposals for. That is the one that we answered to with 140 beds, 100 of them being lodge beds. We were short 60 beds for care. But we explained in our application, we have room to build another 60 in a few years when the time comes that we need it. We thought we had a good application. We sent it off. We didn't win. Shasta won, and they won with, I think, is it 90 beds and 6 hospice beds. It ain't nothing to do with Stettler started one or when it was. That's what was on the application. And so Shasta won, and they are starting to build. Are they going to do the hospice? I don't know yet.
Sorry, I got Councillor Clayton and then Councillor Laursen.
We never, ever have applied for a lodge hospice to the government. We've applied for a lodge. Just straight up. And that's what we're discussing here today. If you want to talk about hospice, you're in the different realm as far as I'm concerned, because that is the hospice's realm and their organization. And if they want to partner with the lodge as a build, or they want to partner with somebody else as a build, that's up to their council, their board. It's not up to this board here or this council here to determine where and what and how many beds hospices are required in Strathmore. It's got nothing to do with it. And I don't think we need to cloud the conversation with things that aren't relative to the question. Thank you.
Pretty much the same thing. Dragging the hospice into this every time we have a conversation is only confusing things. That's not what we're talking about here. This is a letter of support for the lodge. The hospice is putting their share into what they decide to do, has nothing to do with the conversation we're having right now.
On that note, there has been a talk with some of this with hospice. Here's where I'll chime in. So there was comparisons to private and for-profit and things like that. I think our council members should be very careful about how we say that, because to me, that's hearsay. There may be documentations that support that, but we have no purview over that. And the province has decided to provide service through a competitive process that the lodge did not win on providing care, like Councillor Kester said, and they've also awarded hospice. To me, I'm thankful that that's there because that care is needed. How it's provided is again not up to us. They've decided that, so I think we should be really careful about saying one is better than the other. There may be we don't have the depth of knowledge to argue that. That's AHS and Alberta government's thing. We should be thankful that they were actually providing a service in the area. Just think we should be very careful about that. Hospice has been brought up because there's members on the board as well. So that's part of the reason I think was some confusion with people. But as I think you're saying clearly today, we are just voting on the lodge part. This is the money that's tied up with the lodge as presented. Are we comfortable with that? So I don't know if there needs to be any further discussion, or I can call the question, or one last round, I guess.
So I'm gonna put this forward just to get a read from council. I will move to amend the motion to remove the dollar amount from the letter, the $10 million, because we don't have the detail behind that to analyze whether that is what we're approving. You want just an approval that we believe a lodge is needed? I think the $10 million is more than that. So I'll make the motion that we remove the $10 million amount out of the letter and see where council lands on that.
So then we just discussed the amending part, correct? Yeah, for sure. So there's a motion on the floor to amend, to remove the money portion out of the letter. So we can discuss that, just that merit. So discussion on that, go ahead.
I would support that amendment.
For myself, I'm concerned that is that perception that we are writing a blank check? Because there isn't a limit. It could go both ways, right? So.
I guess the letter that we wrote a year ago does say that as demonstration of this commitment, Wheatland County recently passed a motion pledging our respective share of the member municipalities towards this project. Although the numbers are out of date, we do still have a motion confirming our financial commitment to the project. That would have to be updated before this project could move ahead because the numbers are out of date. But we have already expressed our financial commitment in that form as it was back then. What I'm hearing from our housing management members is that we can vote to support the idea of the lodge here. And in the next 6 months, by the time AHS has made a decision, if we are awarded this, we would then be going to the Building Canada Homes application which at that point, we would be potentially working on a Class A budget and finalizing the details of the costs. And at that point, I would want the housing body to provide that information to our administration so that they can actually calculate what it would cost taxpayers, you know, as a whole and kind of individually as an average or something, so that we can make an informed decision at that point about the costs of it, because I believe they're asking just for general support, not necessarily that we support the finances as are evolving. So
Counselor Larson and then Counselor Hepps.
So just to clarify what you were saying, HS has nothing to do with the lodge in that thing. The financing thing is going through AHPP. And you're right. I mean, if AHPP decides not to fund us, then we have nothing more to discuss. If we get on from that and we go to whatever the new CMHC is going to end up being called, it might even keep the same name for all I know, and they say no, we're out of business. So I would support having no dollar amount in there, because we, quite frankly, that potentially could go up or go down a little bit depending on what happens. But what we need here, and this is the key part, if we're going to issue this letter of support, we have to do what we were supposed to do last year and not then turn around and negate the decision of council by writing letters to the ministers saying, well, we don't support this and we don't support that. We either support it or we don't support it.
Counselor Hepps.
I guess one of the concerns I have with the letter only is we got it from WRP, but good, because it was perceived that we weren't supporting, and that was one of the reasons that they used for the disharmony, you know, which of course is balderdash. I mean, Rick heard it from 2 other different people that applied, and they didn't use that as a form letter. So I'm not sure we're not backing ourselves into the same corner by having our partners in this project.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
I guess on the last time when we did made that letter and there was no dollar amount in it, I never heard one comment from council, from other councillors, from board members, from government. I didn't hear one comment. I don't think it was that telling of a statement. And I can support, you just take out the 10 million, you leave in there that will pay our share, and the other members of everybody's cool. Yeah. But we don't even know what the money is yet, for sure.
So one question I have back to your PowerPoint presentation at the start. Yes, because it tells me the pass or reject part of it. That's why I just want clarification on that. Does that mean on the top it says pass or reject number 1, number 2? Does that mean it would come back to councils, or is that going to the board for the pass or reject? Could you explain on that a bit, Glenn?
If you reject the letter, it's if you reject the letter. Yeah, if you reject the letter, yeah, we'll probably tell all the councils that Wheatland County rejected the letter.
The
And
third, the last page, it said advantage, AHP grants money announcements in Q2, and then it says the next portion is an expense, the Class A budget preparation following AHPP announcement and federal submission. I just want to, for comfort, once it's defined what the federal hoops you have to jump through and the amounts, will that come back to council, or is this just giving?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The last, just so you can rest assured, the minister told me, now this was with CMHC, but the minister told me CMHC does a mortgage. I'm thinking everybody's seen a loan app or a mortgage, right? And you got to sign it, right? So there's no the lodge board management body cannot requisition for capital bills. We all know that. But you can contribute. And it has to be agreed to by all municipalities. So when we get this mortgage is no good until every municipality signs it. You don't
Okay.
sign it, it don't go. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks for the clarification. And with that,
You're welcome.
with the motion on the floor, I don't have a problem taking the money out because I think it's going to come back and we can actually get a firm dollar amount, make that decision then at that point. So any
You're
further,
right.
any further discussion before I call on the amendment? Okay, I'll call the question. That is carried unanimously. So now we're having the letters coming without the money in it. So,
You still have to vote on the main motion as amended?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, I realize. So we're going back to the main motion. It's not going to have the 10 million in there. Do we need to see it in a written form, or are we okay with letting admin coming up with some kind of context to the words? Give them a couple minutes. Is that fair enough? We have debated this very well. I appreciate everybody being honest and being open and to discussion and having a good debate and being respectful for everybody. There's a lot of money, a lot of commitment. I don't think anybody in here is malicious in any way. We're just trying to make sure we get everything. There's been a lot of information out there, so trying to clear the
Now,
path.
Scott, can I say something? Can I say
Absolutely.
something?
Yep.
I'd like to thank council and you for listening to me. It's not hard, or I said it is hard to sit here and look at a blank or a computer screen. I can't see anybody. But yeah, I thought it was a respectful, good questions. I feel good about it. I just wanted to thank you and council for allowing the opportunity to do it from my, I'd like to say the comfort of my home, but this flu has really got me down.
For sure. And I'm trying to wrap this up quick so everybody can get on with their day kind of thing. Go ahead.
Sorry, one more minor detail. In the letter, it talks about the member municipalities, Town of Strathmore, Village of Rockyford, and the Village of Standard Hazard. I think Standard and Hazard each have representatives on this board. I think it should probably say the Village of Standard and the Village of Hazard, because you have, each is now, it used to be that there was one representative for both
Yeah, but that's changed. Yep.
villages, and
Is it up there?
so in the village.
Second
of
paragraph,
Standard
last line.
/ Hazard.
I can read it from there.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a
what are we
minor,
talking
minor.
Oh, there we go. Serves the main member municipalities, Wheatland County, Town of Strathmore, Village of. Oh, yeah, because there's a slash there.
Yeah.
You should, what you should do is either say villages of and then list them all, or you have to put village in each one. Yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay. Administration has said they don't need a motion for that. They can, it's just a textual amendment, so that's
Okay.
good there. Thank you.
So we have the letter in front of us. Amended letter? Or not? Not yet. Not yet. Sorry. Does council need to see the amended letter?
I don't.
No. Okay, so we're just take the monetary funds out. Any further discussion before I call the question? We're all clear on what we're voting for. Amendment has been successful. We are going to proceed without the monetary part in the letter. Not seeing any more. I will call the question.
Recorded vote, please.
Recorded vote, absolutely. Of course, I just sewered my thing.
She had to take it off for recording.
Oh, we don't, oh, you still do it. Sorry. Okay, please vote. That is carried unanimously. Do I need to read off that we all voted for it? Okay, we're good.
Very much.
Thank you to my council and all the team here to, we need to have these discussions, whether or not we all agree to it. Once it's unanimous decision, I feel fairly comfortable it's got a path forward. With that, Division 7 Council Report. Councilor Larson, sorry.
I'm making this quick. My report's on the server. Got any questions? If not, I move my report as presented.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Not seeing, hearing none. I will call the question. That's carried. We'll move on to 8.11, Chief Administrative Officer Report. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Council. Sherry Bars with Administration to provide the December 2025 CAO Officer Report, which is found on page 50 of the agenda package, along with the resolution tracker, which starts on page 52. Following this report, I'll be presenting the next few items on today's agenda. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for administration? We have two possible motions. Go ahead.
I'll move that council accepts the December 2025 Chief Administrative Officer Report as information.
Thank you for the motion. Any discussion? Any questions? I will call the question. That is carried. There's a second part. Would you like?
Oh, yeah, I'll move the council accepts the January 13th, 2026 council resolution tracker as information.
Thank you. Motion on the floor, Councillor Larson. Any questions? I'll call the question. Somebody's not working? And that's carried. We're moving on to agenda item 8.12, 2026 proclamations. Hear ye, hear ye.
Good afternoon. Administration is presenting a consolidated report of proclamations for Council's consideration and approval for the 2026 calendar year. These annual proclamations recognize key initiatives that promote safety, economic development, infrastructure awareness, and community well-being. The proposed proclamations include Economic Developers Week from May 4th to the 8th, promotes economic development initiatives that enhance community quality of life. Health and Safety Week from May 4th to the 9th raises awareness of injury and illness prevention in workplaces, homes, and communities. Public Works Week from May 17th to the 23rd, which recognizes the essential role of public works in maintaining community infrastructure. Seniors Week from June 1st to the 7th, which celebrates the contributions of seniors and their importance to community life. And finally, Rail Safety Week from June 15th to the 21st, which promotes rail safety awareness to reduce incidents and encourage safe practices. So we're requesting council's approval of these proclamations for 2026. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you.
I move that council approve the following proclamations and authorize the Reeve to sign proclamation declarations for those listed: Economic Development Week, Health and Safety Week, Public Works Week, Seniors Week, and Rail Safety Week.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Want a counselor week? No. Fair enough. I will call the question. And that's carried. 8.13, 2026 Spring RMA Convention Meeting with Minister Williams.
So administration has received correspondence from the Minister of Municipal Affairs Office indicating a potential opportunity to meet with Minister Williams at the 2026 Spring RMA Convention. Council last met with the Minister of Municipal Affairs at the Spring 2024 RMA Convention. Since that time, the county has submitted meeting requests for the fall of 2024, spring of 2025, and fall 2025 RMA conventions. However, no meetings were granted. The topics previously requested are outlined on pages 63 and 64 of the agenda package. Looking ahead to 2026, administration is seeking council direction on whether to pursue a meeting with Minister Williams, and if so, which priority topics council wishes to advance within the municipal affairs portfolio. You can see page 64 with the list of topics for council's consideration. And we're also seeking direction on whether council would like to request meetings with other provincial ministers at the 2026 RMA convention. And confirmation of priority topics for these meetings are also listed on page 64. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Staff are asking us, number one, if we want to have a meeting with Minister Williams, and two, if we do, what do we want to talk to him about? They like to have an agenda submitted prior to, correct, ministers? Yeah. So they have some idea what to talk about. Go ahead.
I think I want to bring up a lot of the secondary roads in our county. However, I don't think that's the right venue for, I think we need to meet with the transportation minister for that. But what I thought might be a good idea, so if we want to find another minister to meet with, I would suggest transportation. But for this one, what about, would police funding not be a good topic to talk to him about?
I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. I think it's very much appropriate. Yeah.
So as you can see on page 64, the potential topics with other provincial ministers. So we have listed here options that could go, which included the police funding model. So if that would be council's wishes, we would reach out to those ministers for a meeting at the RMA convention.
Councillor Heps.
So it would be just our county, or would other like say we want just us?
It's a one-on-one.
Perfect. So then I would like to talk to Minister Williams about the quasi judicial bodies. I still think they're an infringement on our elected processes.
Anyone else? I'm thinking that our bridge files would be something we should talk to both of them, because we got huge expense.
Our bridge files, is that the right minister though? Because I agree with you, that's.
The funding comes from municipal affairs. Like, it's good to have them both, no? Yeah,
I was
just trying to look at
bridge
staff.
files for
Yeah.
sure.
That would come from the transportation infrastructure.
But municipal affairs, you could talk to them about it, because if we have roads closed, it's going to affect inter-regional travel for anybody, right? So
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say, because it might be transportation, but if you look at the broader picture of it, bridge files affects the entire province, and it affects our ability to move not only from roads in our county, but to other counties.
Anyone else? Glenn or Donna? Oh, sorry, Shannon.
I had a couple of ideas, but I don't know if we'd need discussion here. I wondered if we should talk to Minister Nixon about the lack of feedback that we get in the seemingly form response saying your submission is adequate. Like, I wouldn't mind being able to get some feedback from him about what does make a submission be accepted. I don't know if he would be able to respond with any clues. I think would be useful. The other one I was thinking about was the Minister of Environment and Protected Areas, the status of the WID claim on Serviceberry, and whether they have any thoughts on how they think that might go. And then I agree with Councillor Larson about our secondary roads. We haven't talked to them lately about it, and I would like to know what their process is. I mean, at what point do they get to the point where they need to be looked at and rebuilt? Can't go on forever.
So is that given enough topics? Go ahead.
I agree with what Councillor Priest wants to discuss. On the first one with Minister Nixon, I'd be hesitant to think we'll get an answer, because I'm not sure that hits his desk. But the problem is we really only have a meeting with municipal affairs at this point in time.
We can get more.
Through
How many more can we get?
So, through the Reeve Council, the request was specifically for the municipal affairs. However, usually we come back prior to the spring RMA and ask for topics for other ministers. So while submitting the request to municipal affairs, we thought we'd put in a request early with the other ministers for the other topics.
That makes sense to me. Okay.
So
I got a comment.
go ahead.
I agree with them all, but I think we're going to run into a roadblock with Minister Nixon. As a rule, a department doesn't comment on their grants when they're in the middle of one. If you want to ask a question like that, you would have to catch them in between the series of grants. When this one closes in March or April, which would be right around our thing, and then it would be appropriate to ask them, because otherwise you want to avoid the risk of appearing prejudice, is what I think it is. You just can't get them to comment on it during, but after the process is done, I think he's fair game then. That makes sense.
Yes, I believe there's an anti-lobbying thing too with these applications once they're submitted, so that would be considered lobbying. Yeah. Anything else? So what do we have?
Through the Reeve Council, so far I have from the municipal affairs, LPRT, which is other quasi-judicial appeal boards, and then for other ministers for transportation, bridges, secondary roads, environment, WID, and then the Nixon, whether grant applications, whether that stays on or not.
Anything else council wants? We need a motion to list the items. Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll move that council direct administration to request meetings with the appropriate provincial ministries for matters outside the municipal affairs at the guess I go above that, sorry. That council direct administration to request a meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs at the 2026 RMA conference to discuss the following topics. And those topics are quasi-judicial bodies.
Second one? And then second one? Or B or C? Police funding?
Okay, that, oh yeah, police funding, yeah, it's just not up there yet, sorry.
And do we want to touch with bridge files with them or just wait?
Sorry, I would sooner do bridge files over LPRT. We're not going to get anywhere with that anyway.
So the portfolio for municipal affairs would not cover police funding. It's under another minister, same with transportation. So we will request those under those ministers, which is resolution number 2. So under resolution number 1 with municipal affairs, it would be whatever's in their portfolio, which is the quasi judicial body. And then if there's a second topic, if not, we can leave it at the one topic.
Say bridge files then. Because I think we agreed that's beyond the strictly transportation.
The other one would be the IDPs and ICFs. We are going to be coming up into a round of these coming forward. I think for us to have an ear to municipal affairs about the challenges we're going to face, because all these agreements are, I think, coming up in 2027 with our urban partners. Go ahead, Keith.
With respect to the LPRT, just a little information. The Surface Rights Board, County of Wheatland Surface Rights Board, annual meeting is on March the 5th, and we have the LPRT there to meet everybody. So the whole council is invited to the annual meeting of the Surface Rights Board, and you'll have an opportunity to have some direct contact.
So still need clarity on what we want to talk to municipal affairs about.
Yeah. For 1, we have LPRT and bridges.
Okay. Do you want to, not hearing a lot of support on LPRT from most of council, just yourself? I said, I'm not hearing a lot of push on the LPRT, just yourself, but just, you haven't been privy to a lot of the conversations we have prior, so.
Well, the thing would be, if we're going to get a chance to talk to him, and that's his portfolio, if the whole, like if obviously it's an issue because they're coming to the Wheatland Surface Rights Board, like it's a real deal in Wheatland County. So I think we should have the discussion with them, and maybe we have some, informal meetings, and maybe the March 5th one does it. But if we don't all go there as a council with some thoughts about it, I could go either way, but clearly it's not just me, because surface rights, like landowners in our county, have concerns. They've invited them.
Okay. So the motion is reading the first one, and it's in front of us. It's quasi-judicial bodies and bridge files.
I think we should add the IDPs and ICFs. I do think there's merit in talking about allowing flexibility of our existing agreements, like the basically kind of mutual aid sort of agreements that we already have in place, that could take the place of an IDP.
Go ahead.
I could support that too.
Okay, so can we add a third one then? Can we add 3? Okay, let's do that. And is that enough discussion before I call the question on the first part, or do we, because it's 2 separate motions? Do you accept the IDP and ICF? Okay. Anything further? There's two motions coming out of this.
Well, we'll deal with one first and then.
Yeah, that's how it's in front of us, right? So the motion in front of us is the council directed administration to request a meeting with municipal affairs at RMA conference for quasi-judicial bridge files and IDP and ICFs. We're all clear? I will call the question. That's carried. There's a second part to this, so this will be matters outside of municipal affairs, and this will include the other ministries. Go ahead.
So I would like to move that we direct administration to request meetings with the appropriate provincial ministries for matters outside municipal affairs at the 2026 Spring RMA Conference to discuss the following topics. secondary road funding, police funding model. And did you have a different one, Shannon?
With the WID and.
Right,
Clay on
that's the one.
Serviceberry. Yeah.
What she said.
Yes.
Perfect. Anyone else have any other topics that we want to add to that? Okay, we have it in front of us. Any further discussion before I call the question? Question is called. That is carried. Move on to 8.14, consent agenda review. So this is what we were talking about earlier.
Good afternoon again. Administration is bringing back the consent agenda review as directed by council following the 2025 election. The consent agenda was introduced in July 2024 to consolidate routine and non-controversial items and improve meeting efficiency. At that time, council limited it to minutes and correspondence while expressing interest in revisiting its scope in the future. Many items in council reports cover overlapping topics which can lead to repeated discussions. Including these items under the consent agenda could reduce repetition, streamline meetings, and eliminate routine resolutions while still maintaining transparency and dialogue. To allow councilors to provide input while keeping meetings efficient, administration recommends a new agenda section called Statements on Councilors' Reports. Provides an opportunity for brief comments or statements on reports, and it preserves dialogue while supporting the efficiency of an expanded consent agenda. Any item can still be removed from the consent agenda for discussion and placed under new business arising from the consent agenda. Administration also reviewed practices in Strathmore, Rocky-View, Foothills, and Kneehill counties, noting approaches that balance efficiency with opportunities for discussion. Councilor's guidance is requested on whether to continue with the current consent agenda with just only the minutes and correspondence, or to expand the consent agenda to include additional items along with the statements on councilor reports section. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. I just want to state that we're not trying to hide anything here. It's just we've started this last year. The consent agenda gives a bulk, the information's there for all us to read. If there's anything that highlights, you always have the ability to pull something out and debate it, discuss it, or highlight it. So just kind of deciding whether we want to maintain what we're doing or add anything to it. So council's wishes.
Personally, I like the monthly report as it is because it does remind us, what we did in that month and some of the things that, it makes it much easier for our ratepayers to hear because anybody that watches this or listens in gets it exactly rather than hunt and peck through the website for those reports. And then it also allows us to flesh out, our message and allow them to give us questions back. So my preference is to leave it the way it is. Thank you.
Anyone else?
So just to clarify, our monthly reports would still be in the agenda package. We just wouldn't each individually discuss them necessarily.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't go division by division, going through the debates. So for me, I do like the idea of having more in the consent agenda. I don't mind the idea of putting council reports there. But I would just say, instead of having a section councilor statements on councilor reports, I would say councilor reports discussions so that we can ask questions, or if we want to highlight something on what we've done the past month, we can talk about that. Could ask each other questions about what's going on in the different boards that we're on. And I like the idea too, the admin reports probably could go into the consent agenda. I find that we don't tend to ask a lot of questions about it, but we could also though have another agenda item, admin reports discussion, so that we don't have to pull out, it's very clunky to pull out something out of the consent agenda, I find, but if we could just have an opportunity just to admin reports discussion so that we could ask questions that way. Maybe that would work. I don't know if that makes sense for an agenda, consent agenda. One more thing I wanted to ask was, I've had requests from people about having all of the board minutes put into our packages. I don't know, that's a lot, but I wondered if and this is a question to admin, if it'd be possible to put links in our report to like say if it was WHMB minutes, there'd be a link to their website that has the minutes already there. So that if somebody was looking in our package and they're wondering, I wonder what happened, and they click on the link and they're taken there and they can see whatever minutes they want to see. Those are kind of my thoughts on consent agenda.
Great discussion. Councillor Larson and then Councillor Clayton.
Okay. I would support putting the county council reports, because over the last number of years, I've always been last. And by the time it gets around to here, all I say is, well, we've talked about all of that and here's my report. So I mean, we waste a lot of time talking about the same stuff over and over and over again. So I would support putting the council reports into the consent agenda.
Go ahead.
I like to be able to at least highlight some of the things that have maybe happened in my division or in my meetings to you guys. And having it the way it is right now makes me do that. If there's a way that I can still do that and maintain that kind of conversation outside the consent agenda, I'd be all happy with that.
So that's kind of what we're discussing. So if you wanted something, your report's in there and say, hey, I want to talk about that, at least bring it up as say, I want to pull this and discuss it. Right. And we'll always have that option. We just have to get used to that. So the bulk of the information, if any counselor wants to say, well, I have a question about X, Y, Z, it'll be brought forward and discussed. Or if you want to highlight something yourself, you can do that as well.
Yeah, through the Reeve to council, as a suggestion, the way that that was a good one to say, discussion on council reports, rather than pulling it from the consent agenda or from the council report, you could submit something that you would like to have listed individually within that section. And then we'd be able to say that you want to talk about, let's just say if it was Marigold Library, we'd put it there.
And thank you for bringing up the meeting, the minutes, because I look at it as, and I'm really trying hard to submit my minutes now, approved minutes, because I'm in this, going to these boards not as a person, I'm going as a council representative. And I think it's our job to make sure that information gets back through this venue. It's our only venue to make sure people know what we're doing. And for our fellow colleagues at this table to, hey, ask questions about, REMP today, like what about that? That's great. Like those kind of things need that dialogue, because we're representing council there. One of us is a representative, or two of us, or three of us, or whatever. But I think it's important to have those minutes back. If it's a link or however, I just think we need to really make sure we have that out there to justify what we're doing. Anybody online? Glenn, Donna?
I just
So, I
want
mean,
to say that it is hard
I
to,
can,
Oh, go ahead. Donna first, then Glenn.
it's hard to pull them out. So if you're going to put it in, I don't know. I don't like the fact that pulling them out is the hard part. Like just doing those extra motions to get it there. I don't know if you just have a line that says discussions. I don't have the answers to make it go a little smoother.
I think Deputy Laprise was saying basically have council questions about your reports or whatever information, and there'd be an open line. So if you had a note that you wanted to talk about something, you don't necessarily have to pull the whole thing. You just say, hey, in this report here, I have a question about X. Could be to staff, could be to fellow councilors. That will open up that door. As from chairing it, makes it a little more challenging because it'd be a little bit back flipping pages, but we can try it and see. Or we can leave it the way it is. So good discussion. Go ahead.
One thing, you know, I mean, the obvious is we only do it one council meeting. We just do it the first one of the month. So it's not, like, I don't think it's that onerous to leave it the way it is and truly communicate back to our ratepayers what we're doing. Thanks.
I'm not hearing one way or the other. I'm kind of hearing a tie here as to what we're doing. So I think it's going to end up staying the same. Go ahead. Oh, Councillor Kester, sorry, I missed you on that. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of links to the WHM's website to look at the minutes, right? But I don't know if all the boards I'm on keep websites up or not. And then it's to get minutes that are relevant that usually, like on WRC, you have a meeting today, you wait 2 months, then you have a meeting, and then the minutes get approved, and have to wait another month to get it onto my board report. It's already 5 months old. You know what I mean? If you can check on the website, I'll bring it up with WRC if they have a website even, because I see the benefit for every outfit like that to have a website where they can post their minutes, what they're doing, application forms. Yeah, but I like that idea. It's more current, and then you can find out up to date. It's always a timing issue to get adopted minutes.
That is something as board members too, we can go back and say our council wants us to, all our boards to have a website with maintaining the minutes and task each administration with having that done. It shouldn't be too difficult and have it up to date. And that would definitely add some transparency to a lot of things. Councillor Hebbs? No, you're good. And did I miss anybody? Oh, go ahead.
I'll make the motion and then we can vote on it, that council accepts the consent agenda review report as information and directs administration to expand the consent agenda to include council reports and administration reports and add agenda items, council reports discussion and admin reports discussion. And add links to all of the board websites with minutes. Is that? No.
Through the Reeve to the Deputy Reeve, one of the considerations, and I'm looking at Corey, is that we're updating the website, and one of the options besides creating a hyperlink on your reports to take back to that, not everyone may know to click on the hyperlink, and I don't know how much work that would be for admin to create for every report, but we could create a site where we have all the boards and committees that council attends with the link where you can go to that board with a link there to direct you to the minutes and agendas from that board. And I was looking at Corey because as we're updating our website, that's something we could do.
So then instead of being in the agenda package, it would be on our website with links to other websites. Is that what we're suggesting?
Yes, through the chair, that works. And I have some other ideas that might also make it easier if you're on a particular board, that could be within your council page even. So.
Yeah, I think that works. It's just, yeah, allowing people who are interested in county business to be able to find minutes to the boards we sit on. I guess that's all I'm looking for.
Through the Reeve Council, we would look for a way to make that user friendly for the public to access that information.
Okay.
So we have a motion before us. Any further discussion? Question would be, so our administration that are here patiently waiting to do their reports most times, this would probably be at the start of the meeting, I would think. So they would, like, I'm just trying to think for efficiency, we could, if somebody had something or question, they may not be in the room, but give administration, the CAO, to just bring somebody in to discuss something directly.
Through the Reeve to council, the way it would work, we would still have those departments for special reports that we do, as you see. It's just that they wouldn't wait till after the department over, the monthly report. That would just be part of the consent agenda, but the other topics that would fall, like the topic for the refund for Lakes of Muirfield, would still be a separate report that would just follow within that department.
And
Which
would the
was-
consent agenda be kind of at the start of the meeting?
At the beginning of the meeting,
That
that's
makes sense,
correct,
because then
just
there's
as it is
discussion.
currently.
And we need some more information that can come back. I'm just trying to think the logistics of the meeting, how it moves forward. If there's some questions about something and we have to pull some information, we could kick it
Through-
down.
Through the Reeve to council, when we do the first one, and if we need to tweak it, we're more than happy to redo it as what works best.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion before us? Not seeing anything, I will call the question. That's carried. 8.21 Corporate and Financial Services Report. He's thinking, I just get the report to you guys and then I won't have to do it.
Afternoon, council. Now that it's part of the consent agenda. Yeah, so just here to report the December 2025 report for corporate and financial services. Found on page 83 of the report. I have nothing really to add to the report at this time, but available for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions for administration? If not, a motion.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I don't know if this is the place to ask it or not, but I see water is reported on here. And I did remember reading it someplace in here, but we got a couple letters from residents in Carsland or Speargrass about drilling new wells and that new pipeline we're putting in. But the one letter was quite pointed in saying their water is below standards. It's gritty, it plugs up their screens, it corrodes up their taps and stuff. I'm not going to read it all, but it wasn't the clear crystalline water that I'm accustomed to seeing come out of the water tap. I'm wondering, when we get a complaint like that, do we look at it, or who do we ask? Do we do an investigation? Do we go to their house and take a water sample, say, or maybe there's a rusty link between their house and water tap? I don't know, but do we actually go look at it?
Thanks, administration.
Yes, through the chair. Yeah, those letters were submitted as part of a license amendment that the county is looking at doing. It's the wells are already in place, but to your question about reviewing the water, yeah, individuals can call our utilities line and request a review of the water quality, water pressure, any other issues that they might be having at their taps, and our water operator will go to their house and run tests on the water quality as well as the pressure. So yeah, they just need to give a call to our utilities line, and then our operators will go and address that and identify any issues that might be present.
So our operators would be the outfit that we're contracting? Do we have anybody in house that can go and do it? I'm
Through
just
the
curious, who are you going to send?
Yeah, through the REIV, it would be RVUC, who's our currently contracted water operators, that would go and respond to those calls. Internally, we don't really have the staff to address those concerns because they would take samples and then take them back and do the proper testing. So we do rely on RVUC to do that. And when people do call that number, the call does go into RVUC initially. If there are additional concerns that do need to get addressed through the county, then RVC will talk to the county about that and we'll get involved. But in general, they're able to handle it by just going to the residents and doing those tests.
Councillor Clayton.
When the councilors are copied in on these letters, is it possible to get back to the councilors that saw it that the action was taken so that we know the result? Maybe I didn't say it quite right, but I'd like to know after the person inspects this, what he found and what was the resolution.
Certainly through the chair, administration can do that. It is part of an application that goes through Alberta Environment. And so the advertisement that the county is required to do is an Alberta Environment requirement as part of the license update. Individuals can submit statements of concern in regards to the application. And certainly when that license update, if approved, we can certainly bring a report back to council on that approval and how administration addressed those concerns. Some of the concerns that were submitted as part of that statement of concern aren't directly related to the actual water license amendment that we're doing, but we will nonetheless attempt to answer those questions and, where appropriate, direct people to our utility line so that they know where they can call if they have concerns of water at their taps. Does that answer your question? Oh.
One thing to add too is by Alberta Environment Standards, every week the water is tested in various points in the distribution system on any system through provincial labs for the bacteriological testing and your chlorine residuals. That is mandated by the province on any licensed system in Alberta. So those kind of things from an operations standpoint, they could go to that house, for instance, and pull that sample and send it in. It's a third-party verification, but that is automatically done every week in Alberta, except for around Christmas time or something. So it's not something that's not checked on a regular basis that it's safe. Taste and odor is a different thing, but the safety of the water is, not going to hurt you. Make sure it has the right chlorine levels and disinfection in it.
Yeah, sorry not to leave you there, Brad, but mine was more of a general question, not just necessarily these two letters, but if the council gets a letter of complaint to address an issue, and we do have it addressed by yourselves, that we get feedback on what the resolution of it was, so we know. That's all I'm saying.
So you want something back to that to council that, hey, we recognize this, we followed up, and here's the actions taken. Yeah, I think they pretty much do that mostly. So
yeah, through the REIV, generally we will. So a lot of times we do get ratepayer concerns and complaints that come through council members. So we will address that, and then we'll speak to that council member and see if they give the council member an update and their preference on whether we update the ratepayer directly or whether the council member updates them. So we generally follow that process when council members are made aware of or when those communications come through council members.
Thank you.
Need a motion on the floor.
I'll move that council accepts the corporate and financial services report for December 2025 as information.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Call the question. That's carried. 8.31, Community and Development Services.
Good afternoon, Council. Joel here from Administration. Here to present the next agenda item. So the department monthly report is located on page 89, the agenda package. I don't really have anything to add, just a little bit of detail, just note around the AFREX radio system that the training has been finished during the November, December, and that in late December, there was some planning for the implementation and installation to happen in the new year. So just a little bit of detail that was included. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, administration? Mr. Hebbs?
So Joel, like where it says next quarter items, you're going to continue working with stakeholders on the Rosebud High Eagle Campground development permits as required. Can you talk about them, or is that, well, can you talk about them, or is that confidential at the moment?
Through the Reeve to Council, that particular one is stemming from an earlier request at the campground for, they wanted to get a development permit that they didn't have for use for some of the recreational uses. And in that process, it was identified that several of the structures on the site didn't have DPs. So at that time, some of the things, what we can say is that they had to get a variance. And through that process, there were some reports that needed to be done. And so we were directed to work with the operators to try to get compliance with either moving the buildings back or leaving where they are and ensuring safety along the top of bank. So we're in that process with the operators at this time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Council's wishes, go ahead.
I'll move that council accepts the December 2025 Community and Development Services Report as information.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? I will call a question. And that's carried. 8.32, request for development fee refund.
Joel again from administration here. This next item is found on page 97 of your agenda package. Just in brief, the Lake Summerfield Homeowners Association have paid for a permit fee for the dog park, and they're requesting a refund of the $500. Included in the package is a small table just showing some past similar instances that have been approved, just to show that there's some precedent there. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Go ahead. You can do whatever you want.
That council approves reimbursement of Lake Summerfield Homeowners Association, $500 for the development permit fee paid for the Lyalta Dog Park application.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? I just want to say this is to associate, like it's the LCC, which is Lyalta Community Club, and the HOA have recognized a need for a dog park. They approached WID land, raised money to fence it, did everything, and it's all community driven, which is fantastic. They figured out signage, they figured out everything. So this is, for me, it's easy for them. They have to jump through the hoops of permitting like everything else, and they're willing to do that, and they've filled the need, so I'm happy to support this. With that, I will call the question. And that's carried. Thank you. 8.33 Wheatland Family Community Support Service Lease Addendum.
Joel from administration. So this next item is on page 101 of the agenda package. Just quickly, it's a request from WFCSS just to utilize an additional office space. Administration's done a review on this side of the building, determined there is capacity there, and this is just a request for them to amend the lease agreement to include an additional office. That concludes my presentation. Available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead.
You have the room? I'm probably the only counselor on here that uses their services. So I would like to say that the council approve the lease addendum for additional office space in the administration building for Wheatland Family and Community Service Support Services, and authorize the Reeve and interim Chief Administration Officer to sign the addendum.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? Just for a little history, at one time, the Handy Bus had an office there, and now I've seen it's divided in half since that. It wasn't a wall there before, it was all, and then it was never used by the Handy Bus, so. It was just, they wanted it at one time and it didn't make sense for them to come in here, so. Makes sense, we have the room, and at some point in the future, I believe with these leases, if we had to get room, we'd have to a clause in there to exercise that we need it for ourselves, so. So motion on the floor, any further discussion? Call the question. And that's carried. 8.4, Transportation and Agriculture Report. 8.41, I should say.
Good afternoon, Council. Brad Bullock presenting the December 2025 Transportation and Agriculture Department report, which can be found starting on page 107 of the agenda. And I'm here for any questions Council may have.
Thank you. Any questions on the report?
I got one.
Go ahead, Councillor Kester.
Yeah, I see on page 107. A nice picture there of some culverts and the Serviceberry Creek. How big are those culverts, Brad?
That's a wonderful question that I think our Cody Zimmerman, our operations manager, may be able to answer better than myself if amenable to the Reeve. You could come up and do that. Thank you.
If he wants
Okay,
to come
thank you.
forward. He just happens to be in the room, Glenn.
Okay. He's
Hello,
waiting
Council.
for me.
Yeah.
Hi, Cody.
Cody Zimmerman with administration. I believe they are twin 3.6 meter diameter.
So that's in the Serviceberry. I got the Serviceberry and I got a couple bridges in my division. And I got one that's rated at 10 ton now, supposed to be fixed up. Why can't we use culverts there? Replace those bridges with culverts. Like I got a lot of places that have a lot of water like the Serviceberry does there. Why not put culverts in?
Through the chair, we rely on the engineering reports done through our consultants. We look at multiple options, whether it be culverts or bridges, and what would work best with the requirements of the stream. So sometimes it depends on how the bank steepness and how wide the channel is. As you get further downstream, the flow capacity goes up. So it could be in that area, it's quite narrow, high sides. So the flow going through there, it could be that the culvert sizing wouldn't be acceptable. Like you might be getting up to like 5+ meters in that case, which would be quite a bit more expensive than going to a bridge. So there's a lot of factors that play into it, but we do explore multiple options at every individual location we look at.
Okay, you do. So I keep getting quizzed on when we're going to get the bridges fixed, and I think culverts probably can go in a shorter period of time. Plus, everybody I've talked to, I get more thank yous over culverts than I do bridges that are repaired. People love the culverts, get their machinery over.
Through the chair, yeah, the culverts definitely is our preference as well. We've heard that through our residents and through council, that mandate that culverts are the preferred method, especially since they usually come in cheaper. So we do push for that option as a first priority. When looking at bridges, we're looking at options that reduce the guardrail height so that the combines and things can clear the guardrails easier. Removing some of the hazard markers and things that stick up so that you don't have to deal with them. And then also we've gone to a standard 10-meter bridge width, which is wider than the existing roads. Our existing road standards is 8.6 meters. So that gives you lots of clear space on either side. And and should make it a lot better going forward for the ag producers.
Oh, some of the headers are 50 feet or so now, so they won't fit. But thanks, Cody. Thanks for answering.
Cody, just one question. On the Serviceberry Creek, one thing that Mr. Hebbs gave us was a WID letter talking about who owns the doggone thing. Do we run into any trouble putting culverts or bridges across Serviceberry Creek, and who do you have to talk to?
Through the chair, we do send all of our engineered drawings and everything to WID for review on the Serviceberry in particular. So they do submit comment to us, flow capacity, design review, all that stuff. So they are involved along with AEP as well, and also Department of Fisheries, because it is a fish bearing stream. So we do have to circulate to all three of those bodies.
Go ahead.
Cody, do you also have to go through that same process with the Rosebud River and Crowfoot Creek?
Yes, through the chair, we would. If it lands within the WID system or not, it would just depend on where exactly it's at. But the majority of Crowfoot Creek, they are included. Definitely DFO and EEP on all of those as well.
Good information. I have a question. So the pictured 255, I've had requests on that about the completion date. Is it looking, they're worried about calving. I think you know the people I'm talking about. Family members live on either side of there. It's quite challenging. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been in touch with the contractor. They're back on site. They're working now. They are hoping to have the final walkthrough next Friday, weather permitting. So things have accelerated quite a bit. So fingers crossed, within 2 weeks here, everything will be open.
So final compaction and then graveling and open it up. Good.
You betcha.
Good to hear. And when we talk culverts, just because I drive quite a bit and I see like number 1 highway has concrete ducts underneath them. Do we do that too? Like the bigger square? Or is that no longer good practice?
No, it is an acceptable method still. Sometimes we look at it. It's not something that we, as a preferred method that we go with. Again, culverts are cheaper. So that's why we stick to that. But we don't rule out anything. We've looked at different culvert designs, flat bottom arches, and yeah, all kind of different options are reviewed in the process.
Even just going through Langdon, the stormwater system, they've upgraded with the bigger concrete pipes. So it seems to go in fairly quickly. Structurally sound, that kind of stuff. So just making sure all options are looked at. Any other questions? Council's wishes. We're in the motion to accept.
I'll move that council accepts the December 2025 Transportation and Agriculture Department report as information.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. And that is carried. 8.42, appointment of agricultural fieldman to Wheatland County ASB. I'm assuming somebody here's for that.
Good afternoon again, Council. Brad Bullock presenting the report regarding appointment of agricultural fieldmen to the Wheatland County Agricultural Service Board. As Council is aware, Graydon Garner has been hired as the county's new manager of agriculture and environment. Traditionally, that role has also filled the role of agricultural fieldman in the county. There is a provision within the county's ASB bylaw that alludes to that position being filled by the the manager of agriculture and environment. However, the ASB Act also notes that the council appoints the person who serves as agricultural fieldman. So we are bringing that to council, recommending that Graydon be appointed to agricultural fieldman for the Agricultural Service Board for the county. And that's concludes my report. There is some more information, of course, in there, but I'm here for any questions.
Any questions? Councilor, Deputy Reeve, please, and then Councilor Clayton.
I was just going to make the motion that council appoints Graydon Garner, Manager of Agriculture and Environment, as agricultural fieldman to the Wheatland County Agriculture Service Board, effective immediately in accordance with Section 8 of the Agricultural Service Board Act.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Did you have any other, or you were going to, that's what you were doing? Okay, perfect. Any discussion on the motion? Call the question. That's carried. Welcome and thank you. You have big work ahead of you this short year. 8.43 CPKC Railway Crossing Maintenance Bridge, Range Road 210, cost recovery, all that stuff.
Hello, Council. Cody Zimmerman here again, presenting the report for Range Road 210 Rail Crossing Maintenance and Budget Inclusion. So this report is really just to provide some background and legal context about how the historic framework works for rail and road responsibility and authority decision-making. It's all based on seniority going way back to the founding of the province. So the first part of the report just provides some context regarding that and how all that is determined. The current request from CPKC has noted that the Range Road 210 crossing requires rehabilitation work to bring it into compliance with Transport Canada standards. So this would just be south of Highway 1 on Range Road 210 crossing into Siksika. The work would include the removal of the existing crossing surface, installation of a new track panel, and grading of the road approaches for an estimated cost of $209,297, including a 15% contingency. CPKC's correspondence along with the cost estimate and the referenced Alberta Seniority Agreement have been provided with report for reference. Upon Council's direction, administration's intent would be to respond to CP, letting them know that we would like to move ahead with the repair and just coordinate timelines for that to occur. That concludes my report. I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Just a question. It's hard to see on that map, but the other side of that bridge, is it Siksika Nation?
Through the chair, that's correct. Yes.
Should they be asked to pay half the cost?
The way that the jurisdictional boundaries work, the crossing would be on our side of the jurisdictional boundary. Council could choose to make that ask to Siksika, but generally it's within our jurisdiction to repair it. Timing wise, it's also a very tight turnaround, being that CP provided this information to us just before the Christmas break and are expecting a response by January 20th. If they don't receive a response, or if we choose not to provide the funds to go ahead, then they're going to basically move forward to look to close the crossing and remove the crossing. So there is some urgency involved with this request.
To me, the crossing benefits Siksika Nation residents more than us, but
Good discuss. Has it, I guess my question would be, has it been asked before on these type of crossings that you're aware of?
It hasn't come up in my time in this role, but I mean, we have worked with other municipalities before on certain things, but
Generally, when you share a border, you share the expense, is what I've seen. But we could approve it and try to recover the costs after.
that would be an option as well. Yes.
Go ahead.
Might not be worth saying, but if we don't approve it, the question gets asked real quickly when it gets closed.
If we don't approve it, then it'll bring the issue forward very fast.
Very
Because
fast.
the road will get closed. Yeah, so.
So, but my apology, I don't think we should do this, by the way. I think we should go ahead and fix it. But but it depends on who you affect on the Siksika side. If you're putting people at risk, you don't do this kind of stuff. But I would probably say that we should go ahead with what the agreement appears to be recommended by our council or our admin.
That's okay. One of my questions would be these costs, like generally when we do something, you're able to get different quotes, but with this, it's their quote. Like, how do you justify? Like, you hope that they're not padding the bill, so to speak. And I'm not saying they are, but we just don't know. Like everything else, you have 3 quotes on. You could hire any contractor, but here's the bill, pay it.
Through the chair, so within the correspondence, it does note the federal rail guidelines, costing guidelines. So there is a grid set up with the federal government and everything that's all approved that they follow and break down the costs and the hours. So it is all in there. There's a framework they have to follow. So, I mean, yeah, I guess that's all about all I can say.
Okay, fair enough.
You're right. You can obtain multiple quotes and this sort of thing.
No, it's their work. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was all kind of set up with the seniority agreement back in the day, the way things are handled. I guess just some supplemental information as well. The reason administration is recommending to proceed with the crossing replacement is the location of this road, and it's wish I had a map that was handier, but it is the only crossing between Clooney and Crowfoot Crossing, the ferry crossing. And there is no crossing road, that travels west from Crowfoot Ferry. So this is the only road that accesses that area of Siksika Nation. So for fire access, things like that, it does serve quite an importance, emergency access and all that. If the Clooney Highway was closed for any reason for that bridge, traffic would either be routed through this crossing or Gleason. So there's a few reasons as to the importance of it. We did do traffic counts on it as well prior to bringing this forward. It was around average 66 vehicles a day going both directions. So it is busier than you think, but.
All right, well, to be a good neighbor and in consideration of the fact that it is on our, technically on our side of the border, I will move that council direct administration to respond to CPKC confirming the county acknowledges its cost responsibility for rehabilitation of the Range Road 210 rail crossing and to include the required funding of $209,297 in the final 2026 operating budget.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? I would like us to keep track of this for the future because I want to try to reach out to the new chief and talk to him and say, hey, like these kind of things, is there something that we can work with on? I don't know. It doesn't hurt to try, but just say, just so you know, we do this. And it's not really for our benefit. And I do think the trains are federal too. They know this, and the train is the boundary of that as well. So there's some different competing factors there, but I definitely support this motion. I just think something we'll have to work out in the future and have a look at. So, any other discussion before I call the question? I will call the question. That is carried. 8.44, proposed Lyalta area waste transfer station location update. Mr. Zimmerman.
Cody Zimmerman again with administration to present the proposed Lyalta area waste transfer site location update report. On August 12th, 2025, Council passed Resolution CM 2025-08-36, directing administration to proceed with the redesignation of county-owned lands located at southeast of 32-24-26 for the purpose or for the proposed development of a waste transfer station within Division 5. The lands are owned by Wheatland County and are currently utilized as a gravel stockpile site, and the August 12th report has been provided for information. The typical redesignation process required that the application be circulated to area landowners within a 1 mile radius of the site. as well as relevant external agencies, allowing both groups to submit comments. The application was circulated from September 24th, 2025 to October 24th. The circulation notice has also been provided for reference. Administration received several responses from adjacent landowners expressing their concerns and opposition to the proposed use of the lands as a waste transfer station. Concerns primarily focused on the site's close proximity to nearby residences and the fact that the site would require a variance to the Environmental Protection Agency's minimum setback of 300 meters for a waste transfer site from a residence. Concerns also noted the site's proximity to a nearby canal and possible risk of contamination, though it should be noted that any contamination risk to the waterway would have been extremely low due to the nature of the site's operations. Following the negative feedback received, administration is recommending that council direct administration to withdraw the redesignation application and resume the search for a more suitable location to construct the waste transfer site. Should council alternatively choose to move forward with the application, the next step would be for public hearing to be scheduled. Establishment of a waste transfer site within the proximity of the hamlet of Layalta remains a priority to relieve operational pressures on the Wheatland West Waste Transfer Station and to provide more localized service to area residences. A map highlighting the approximate service area of the future site is attached for reference as well. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I can.
Not questions, just, I guess I want to express my frustration. We have been looking for a site since 2019. So for six plus years, we've been looking for a site. Do we think we can find a better site? Or a site?
Through the chair, I think through council, it's been officially 6 years. I think I've been looking for about 8. It's a difficult area because there's a few large landowners that hold the majority of the lands. But it's still worth pursuing because of the operational pressures we have at Wheatland West. The fact that the hamlet itself provides their own garbage collection services currently, but they are not required to. And if they ever chose to stop providing that collection service, that would be on the county to pick that up in some form or another, whether all those residents are to travel to Wheatland West or the county take on collection services themselves. So there's there are issues there that we are trying to mitigate through the development of this waste transfer site. Another one being illegal dumping, which is quite prominent out there right now. I think the next steps would be if council approves this direction, we would begin looking for alternative sites and just literally highlighting areas on a map that we think would possibly work and meet our setback requirements, where we're not going to have issues back from local residences and stuff, or nearby residences, I should say. And then just start cold calling landowners and seeing what we can get going.
Well, I guess just a couple more comments, just that we know that any new site is going to generate opposition, but this is a waste transfer site, not a landfill. I don't know if people realize that this is not likely to contaminate anything and is not likely to smell. I live, a quarter mile away from our waste transfer site, and there's nothing. So this was going to cost us $1.5 million. A new site we will have to buy land for. And I just, this area is so tricky because there's so much opposition, but we're going to have to eventually move forward with something. And I would be really disappointed if we had a $1.5 million opportunity that we have to walk away from to have a $2.5 million or whatever, a $2 million opportunity that we're still going to have opposition to. I mean, I don't know, I feel a little bit stymied by this.
I'll give them credit for the fact that at the moment they're handling their own garbage, but like I appreciate that, but maybe we're truly at the stage, and it's come up before, maybe we stop development there until we get some of that stuff figured out, right? Like there's some real issues with the fact that the county's inherited that, and the developer went broke. And so, I think that's still with no solutions to a couple of the problems out there. or expensive ones at best and becoming more expensive. And like I said, they're paying for their own dog part. I appreciate that. They're paying for their own garbage at the moment, but our liability is going up all the time that we don't solve these problems.
So I'll say, the HOA under their contract with their residents, they provide residential pickup, has nothing to do with us. They've done that since day one. And they do recycling and all that. They've never once asked us for anything like that. They're not, doesn't really affect this now. What he's saying is it could at some point in the future. I've never seen this council ever discuss residential pickup anywhere. That could happen at some point in the future. I don't know. It is a factor of growth. I understand your frustration there. This is the second site. There was one right inside where the trailer RV storage is. I thought was a good suggestion. That got turned down. This one's not appropriate. It is frustrating, and I've said actually the one at Wheatland West has won an award for one of the cleanest ones in Alberta. Actually, I received that award from Alberta Care, and I brought it down. Our sites are immaculate compared to most, and we have good staff and everything. Yeah. Go ahead.
Just a question. If we went ahead and established the waste dump in this particular spot, this transfer site, and see how it turns out, if in the future it shows that it's a problem, we can always move it. But I don't, I kind of agree with, well, it's the first time I've been approached with it, so I can't say I got any background in 6 years, but to me, if it has very limited issues around it and it would save us $1.5 million, why don't we proceed with it? And if it presents a problem in the future, we can always change. It won't cost you any more.
Well, it would cost you more to, yeah. You'd have to pay double the cost. You'd have to build a new one that you've already invested money in this one.
So you still got that particular site for gravel. You're not eliminating it from that ability.
There has to be extensive landscaping done to.
It does. Oh.
Yeah, and it needs a transitor site, which needs an elevated pad. All kinds of, there was some documents in the previous one, so. It is a challenging area. It is one of the fastest growing areas of the county of all types of development, and it's only going to get worse with the Haviland coming online to the south. We have an interchange being built on that road. 264 is paved. It's going to get busier. I've told people, the landowners, that this may not happen here now. There's going to be development on that road. You're going to have change. I can't stop that. They can't stop the landowners from looking. I don't necessarily know that the landowners don't want it. I think they don't want that there because that land is more valuable in the future, is what I predict. And there is one landowner that owns most of the land around that area. And they are right now farming, dedicated to farming. That could change in the future if it's to be $40,000, $50,000 an acre. Who knows? But that land is extremely valuable coming forward. And I think that's part of it. So.
Could I?
Go ahead.
Would it be possible to look for another option and not abandon this idea? Like if we can't find anything better, we come back to this? Is that a possibility?
Through the chair, so this direction would only be to withdraw this current application. So I think there'd always be an option for council to move forward again in the future if they chose to recirculate. And I'll pass it to Sherry, though she'd probably be able to answer better.
Yes, through the Reeve Council. The other option is to put it on hold, but we don't like to do it because the bylaws being circulated. So it's better to withdraw and just restart it because depending on how long it's on hold rather. Typically, if it's a year, we wouldn't redo the studies, but we would regardless have to recirculate the entire thing.
I'll make the motion that's presented that administration withdraw the redesignation application for the county owned lands located at Southeast 32, 24, 26 west of the 4th once a suitable location has been identified, report back to council with an alternative site for consideration for a waste transfer station within Division 5. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. And that's carried. We have 2 remaining in-camera items. Oh, no, new business, sorry, 9.1. Attendance at Emerging Trends Municipal Law.
Good afternoon, Council. Sherry Bars with administration to bring forward the request for attendance at the Emerging Trends, which is put on by Brownlee every year, talking about the emerging trends in municipal law. They do this session every year in Calgary and in Edmonton. So we're requesting council approval for attendance for any Wheatland County councillor that would like to attend this session on February 5th, 2026 in Calgary. The topics for this year's session would be preparing for new AI data centers, protecting municipalities from internal fraud, owner's duty of care, which is an emerging area of concern, and dual loyalties and regional governance. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Deputy Reeve Laprice highlighted this to myself, and I actually got registered for it, so I figured it'd be best to bring back council if anybody else wants to go. It's in Calgary. It's usually they're pretty good, so go ahead.
I wouldn't mind going.
Just let we have a budget for it, so we just need a motion to approve if anybody wants to go.
I'll move that council approve the attendance of Wheatland County Council at the Emerging Trends in Municipal Law session on February 5th, 2026 in Calgary, Alberta.
Thank you. Any further discussion or motion on the floor? Any discussion?
I'd like to go too.
If anybody wants to attend, if this is successful, just let administration know. I'll call the question. It's all day and it's at COP, which actually is not hard to get to anymore. That's carried. I will move us into closed session at 2:48. I will call the question. Well, let's go back into the committee room in about 5 minutes. Everyone needs bio break. Welcome back, everyone. We're resuming council. Is there any motions arising from in camera? Oh. Just bear with us. Just miss. Oh, well. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that the board appoints Joe Van Bavel as a member at large to the Wheatland County Agriculture Service Board.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any discussion? Go ahead.
I would just like to thank Joe and the other guy that applied. You know, both very good quality candidates, and I thank you for both of them applying.
Okay, thank you. Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. I don't know if Bigger could get on or not. Yeah. We're just on the very last one, coming out of camera. Okay. Or said she couldn't swap the calls. We got enough to. Yeah. He can't vote. He wasn't there. Yeah. I can't. No, that's fine. And that's carried. We've concluded the agenda, correct? There's nothing else. I will adjourn this meeting and we'll see those who can make it tonight at our AGM.